Chapter 1104. Great Crisis? I don't really understand. Night Sorrow looked at Princess Qing Wan and asked, Your Majesty is reasonable, but some people are not. The sixth prince of the Red Emperor's country of reincarnation world is here. He has no bottom line. In order to make you compromise, he can do anything. Princess Qing Wan said, Is there anything else that can threaten me? Night Sorrow squinted his eyes and looked at Princess Qing Wan. Is there nothing that can threaten you? For example, the Sky Profound World. If you don't compromise, he can let the Sky Profound World and even the Nine Firmament World suffer. Princess Qing Wan threw out a sentence that made Night Sorrow dizzy. How can this be? Night Sorrow's eyes were filled with killing intent. This method is ineffective against selfish people. You are a person of merit. Naturally, you don't want others to be implicated because of your own matters. Princess Qing Wan said. Night Sorrow fell into a dilemma because what Princess Qing Wan said was true. Then why don't you do this? Night Sorrow looked at Princess Qing Wan. Your Majesty may be a woman, but she cultivates the way of a gentleman. Sometimes she uses power and strength to solve problems. However, there are also some things that she disdains to do. Princess Qing Wan said her style of doing things. It's impossible for me to compromise. Absolutely impossible. If he dares to go against the Sky Profound World, I, Night Sorrow, will make him pay 100 times the price. Night Sorrow stood up. But that's after the Nine Firmament World suffered a calamity. Things can develop according to the situation. If he really wants to do this, Your Majesty can help you deal with him. The request is that you develop in the reincarnation world. If you want to develop in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, don't feel that it's difficult. Your Majesty is not taking in subordinates. You are free. Princess Qing Wan said her request. Brat, have you ever thought about it? When you go to the Qing Emperor's dynasty, you have your own autonomy. Under the protection of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, no other top forces will have any ideas. Zhuo Tingfei said. You have a good plan. Not to mention me, you're still thinking about the Jiuxiao World Group? Night Sorrow looked at Zhuo Tingfei angrily. Don't look at me like that. Princess, you should speak. He doesn't like me now. Zhuo Tingfei took a step back. He could tell that he had touched Night Sorrow's bottom line. Night Sorrow was about to bite. Night Sorrow, don't be so agitated. Elder Zhuo didn't express it clearly. Subsidiary worlds and protector worlds are different. Subsidiary worlds have to hand over their resources and they have to be completely controlled and allocated. Protector worlds are completely a burden. The top powers are only willing to do so because some people have merit and value. Princess Qing Wan said. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He was now at the crossroads of life. Maybe things aren't that bad. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow raised his head and said, Then we can wait. Your Majesty will bring them and hide here for a while. If you are in danger, we can talk again. Princess Qing Wan knew that Night Sorrow was struggling without confidence. Okay, if I beg you, then I will accept my fate. If I don't beg you, then go back to where you came from. I won't allow you to have any other thoughts. Night Sorrow said. Okay, it's a deal. Princess Qing Wan nodded. She knew that this matter was successful. She knew Chidu's temperament too well. After that, Night Sorrow set up a formation and wrapped most of the small lakeside building in it. He only left a pavilion alone in the lake for himself to live in. After making arrangements for Princess Qing Wan and the rest, Night Sorrow went to the pavilion in the lake and brewed a pot of heart-cleansing tea. He was in a dilemma now. It was really hard to make a choice. He couldn't sit by and watch the profound sky world suffer a calamity. That would be a sin. At this moment, Princess Qing Wan and the rest who were wrapped in the formation were also talking. It's a success. I never thought that Chidu would have such an effect. Princess Qing Wan drank a mouthful of tea and said, This brat is too difficult to deal with. Fortunately, he still has a weakness. Otherwise, we would have to return empty-handed. Zhuo Tingfei's old face was full of wrinkles. For people who are passionate, emotions are their weakness. However, he is indeed a rare all-rounder. He is a heavenly master alchemist and weapon refiner. His formation skills are also at the heavenly master level. This illusion formation cannot be attacked or touched. Even the sovereigns are unable to detect it. Elder Zhuo, what's the situation now? Are you gloating? Princess Qing Wan looked at Elder Zhuo and said, Seeing that brat's conflicted face, this subordinate is happy. This brat is born in the year of the turtle. It's very difficult to deal with him. Now we have caught his weakness. Zhuo Tingfei laughed. There were only a few people who could be so casual around Princess Qing Wan. Other than her family, only Elder Zhuo could be so casual. Elders Wu watched her grow up and even gave her pointers when she was young. Therefore she respected Elders Wu very much. On QF, that's true. Without Chidu we really can't take him down. Princess Qing Wan nodded. When Night Sorrow was drinking tea, Bei Xing came. She came to inform Night Sorrow that Princess Qing Wan and the rest had disappeared. However, another group of people had appeared and had a conflict with Wuji World's realm lord Yen Tianpa. Hearing Bei Xing's words, Night Sorrow exerted force in his hand and the teacup in his hand directly shattered into powder. Originally he was still hoping that Princess Qing Wan's news was false. However, Bei Xing's words proved that it was true. What's wrong? Bei Xing didn't expect Night Sorrow to have such a reaction. Not hiding anything from Bei Xing, Night Sorrow told her about the current situation. For the 9 Firmament World Group, you want to sacrifice yourself and compromise? Bei Xing frowned. The current situation had also exceeded her expectations. Do I have any other choice? Xiantian Monarch, your father, Elder Xiang, Purple Firmament Monarch, 7 Rain Monarch. If they didn't recognize my worth, they would have helped me. Can I watch the 9 Firmament World Group suffer a calamity because of me? Night Sorrow laughed bitterly. Bei Xing was very angry, but she didn't have any good ideas. After thinking for a while, she left. She had to report these things to Big Dipper King. Big Dipper King also had to find someone to discuss. This wasn't Night Sorrow's personal matter. The implications were too great. If a top force of the Supreme World really moved against the 9 Firmament World Group, other than the 2 worlds with realm lords, the other spatial worlds of the 9 Firmament World Group would fall. After Bei Xing left, Night Sorrow drank tea. His heart also calmed down. Since things had come, then let nature take its course. After all, Princess Qing Wan was still someone with principles. Bei Xing went to Big Dipper Villa and told her father, Big Dipper King, about Night Sorrow's current situation. Big Dipper King's expression changed. He brought Bei Xing to Xiantian Sky City to see Xiantian Monarch's clone. After learning about the situation, the 3 of them went to 9 Firmament City to see Purple Firmament Monarch. Hearing Bei Xing's story, Purple Firmament Monarch puffed out his cheeks and exhaled. Red Emperor's country is indeed like what Princess Qing Wan said. They are incomparably ruthless. If we find Night Sorrow and he doesn't compromise, things will be difficult. If it's difficult, then don't do it? Are we going to let a young person protect the 9 Firmament World Group? Divine Night Monarch walked in from outside. Chapter 1105. Senior Brother. The sovereign of Zishao bowed. Their master did not enter the king's realm. In reality, the sovereign of Xinshao was teaching on behalf of his master, so the sovereign of Zishao was especially respectful towards the sovereign of Xinshao. Greetings, Monarch Xinshao. Monarch Shen Tian and Big Dipper King bowed. ##, we can't do this. If we let Night Sorrow do this, how can we face the world in the future? How can we face our own hearts? Divine Night Monarch said after sitting down. Brother, don't be angry. We're just discussing. We can't resist the Red Emperor's attack. We should prepare in advance and close the teleportation portal. That way the continent of the 9 clouds will be able to resist, but the other worlds will be in danger, said Sovereign Zishao. Lord Divine Night Monarch, things are not that bad. The Qing Emperor's dynasty did not offer Night Sorrow harsh conditions. Bei Xing repeated what Night Sorrow had told her. Not being enslaved, having freedom, and protecting the 9 Firmament World Group. The conditions are good, but I still can't get over it. I'll go see Night Sorrow and see what he says. If he wants to fight, then we'll fight to the end. Monarch Xinshao said after thinking for a while. The main reason was that Bei Xing's Qing dynasty's conditions weren't harsh at all. Instead, they were very generous. It was very difficult for any cultivator to get such treatment in the Qing dynasty. It was almost impossible. Then, the group of people took the teleportation array to 7 Night City and arrived at the pavilion by the 7 Night Lake. Night Sorrow was fishing. When he saw them, Night Sorrow got up and put away his fishing rod. Then he brewed a pot of tea. We already know what happened. The decision is up to you. If you want to fight, we will fight to the end. The Divine Night Monarch expressed his attitude directly. Thank you for your support, Master, but we're not alone. We have countless things to worry about. We can't live for ourselves. That's too selfish. We have no right to bring the countless lives of the continent of the 9 clouds to war. If we can't do it, I'll accept my fate. Night Sorrow bowed to the Divine Night Monarch and expressed his attitude. Monarch Xinshao and the others looked glum. Monarchs and monarchs didn't care about life and death. But at that moment, if they started a war, it was hard to say whether the continent of the 9 heavens could survive or not, but many people would be injured or killed. Blue Phoenix, Divine Knight. At this moment, the Blue Luan walked out of the 1000 Development Illusionary Formation. The 1000 Development Illusionary Formation was able to prevent detection and revert back to the original scenery, but it could not stop a monarch. Naturally, the Blue Luan could enter and exit freely. The Sovereign of Divine Knight nodded at Princess Qing Luan. Greetings, Your Highness. It has been more than 100,000 years since we last met. Yes. Blue Phoenix remembers. That time, Divine Knight Monarch went to the world of reincarnation to do something. After Divine Knight Monarch left, Divine Knight Monarch told me that Divine Knight Monarch was an incredible commander in the Azure Scale Army. You wanted to leave, but Divine Knight Monarch couldn't stop you. Divine Knight Monarch cares about the continent of the 9 clouds too much. Princess Blue Phoenix nodded. She knew Divine Knight Monarch. He used to be a commander in the Azure Scale Army under the command of the Qing Emperor's Crown Prince. But that was millions of years ago. I'm sorry, Your Highness, but the continent of the 9 clouds is my home, said Divine Knight Monarch apologetically. Qing Luan is not here to make things difficult for anyone. She just loves talented people. However, the Crimson Emperor Kingdom is different from the Qing Imperial Dynasty. I'm sure Emperor Xinxiao knows this, said Princess Qing Luan. Knight Sorrow is different from me. I joined the Azure Scale Army to solve a crisis for the continent of the 9 clouds. But now the continent of the 9 clouds is safe. The Red Emperor's kingdom is a bully. If Knight Sorrow wants to fight back, we will fight back. I joined the Azure Scale Army to fight back too, said Divine Knight Monarch. That's the spirit of the continent of the 9 clouds. Your Majesty understands. If Knight Sorrow joins the Azure Scale Army, it's also a fight against the Red Emperor's kingdom, said Princess Blue Phoenix. She had changed the way she addressed herself, which meant that they were done talking about the past. Alright, but there are some things I need to make clear to Princess Blue Phoenix. The 9 regions world is facing a catastrophe. My real body can't do anything. My real body can only go to the world of reincarnation after the catastrophe is over. Besides, if the Azure Scale Army has a war, I will participate in it. I will also listen to orders. If there is no war, please don't ask me what I want to do, said Knight Sorrow. He didn't want Divine Knight Monarch and the others to make things difficult for him. Alright. If the Red Emperor's kingdom really wants to cause trouble, Your Majesty will do as you say. If the Red Emperor's kingdom doesn't become a threat, we can talk about the conditions again, said Princess Blue Phoenix. Princess Qing Luan spoke, expressing her magnanimity. Whether she acted or not, the conditions were different. Knight Sorrow, I'm sorry. As the Realm Lord, you can have other choices. We will remember your contribution to the continent of the 9 clouds. Divine Knight Monarch cupped his hands to Knight Sorrow. Divine Knight Monarch, you're too serious. I think there's a saying that can be changed. People are not born alive, they are born by fighting. Ants are weak, but they face the sky, not to mention us cultivators, said Knight Sorrow. Well said. Princess Blue Phoenix cupped her hands to Knight Sorrow. Just some thoughts. Knight Sorrow put down his burden, and his state of mind changed a little. Elders would go back to the Azure Scale Army and announce the war. Then take a small team to guard the teleportation formation of the 9 clouds world. If you see the Red Emperor's kingdom's troops, persuade them to retreat. If they don't retreat, kill them. Blue Phoenix said to Zhuo Tingyun, who was standing in the 1000 illusion formation and hesitating whether to come out or not. Yes. Hearing Princess Blue Phoenix, Zhuo Tingyun's chi changed. Battle intent and killing intent broke out of his body because Princess Blue Phoenix's words were a battle order. After receiving the battle order, he immediately went to arrange it. Knight Sorrow, don't worry. Your Majesty forced you to participate and then asked you to join the war. If he didn't want to make a big fuss, Chidu wouldn't have mobilized troops. Your Majesty's arrangement is a backup plan, said Princess Blue Phoenix. Princess Blue Phoenix, Knight Sorrow still doesn't understand. I'm just a primary king. Is it so important? In other words, is it worth it? Knight Sorrow asked. A primary king isn't worth it, but you are. You're a 2-star king around 100 years old. After some training, you won't have any problems growing up. The most important thing is that you have a body of merits. Maybe you don't understand now, but you will in the future. Princess Blue Phoenix nodded. She naturally had a balance in her heart. Knight Sorrow had his own considerations. He would have to go to a supreme world sooner or later because he still needed to comprehend the will of the nothingness heaven and earth. It would be useless for him to stay in a high-level world. The 9-domain world would take a long time to grow into a supreme world. The world and the sector master were complementary. If the world developed quickly, the sector master's level would increase. On the other hand, if the sector master's level increased quickly, the world would also develop. Chapter 1106. Night Sorrow, I will help you wipe out the Tianan dynasty. The Yanmen sect will also give you a satisfactory explanation, Lord Shen Tian said. No, the enmity with the Tianan dynasty is the 9 regions world's matter. It is also my Yi clan's matter. I will personally take care of the Yi clan's annihilation. This will be an explanation to my ancestors. Even if the Tianan dynasty dies, they will die with satisfaction. Night Sorrow shook his head and refused. Family matter. The Yi clan's annihilation? Are you a descendant of the Yi clan of the Tianan dynasty? Lord Shen Tian asked in surprise. Yes, I know a little about it, but it is not very detailed. Shang Tianfeng used a child to threaten the child's parents and then annihilated the Yi clan. This is a disgrace to the Yi clan. Night Sorrow could empathize with Yi Qianhua's experience. A descendant of an old friend. Yifeng King is my best friend. I am heartbroken that something happened to him. Big Dipper King's face was full of pain. Night Sorrow, King Big Dipper wanted to take revenge for Yifeng King, but I stopped him. After all, this is a family matter between the Shang clan and the Yi clan. Also, I thought that the old emperor of the Tianan dynasty, Shangxi King, would handle it. Who knew that he would be disheartened and disappear? I lost this old friend of mine, Lord Shen Tian said apologetically. Thank you, King Big Dipper. Lord Shen Tian, you are right. I will deal with the Tianan dynasty's matter later. The Yanmen sect and I have no great enmity. They have also paid the price for humiliating my disciple. If they don't provoke me in the future, I will not pursue it. However, their methods in the subsidiary space world are really despicable, Night Sorrow said. Good. I will not ask about the Tianan dynasty's matter. The Yanmen sect will give you and the world an explanation. Lord Shen Tian nodded. He knew some things in his heart, but he didn't interfere. After drinking a few cups of tea, Lord Shen Shao and the others left. He also had something to do. If Princess Qing Yuan and the Red Emperor's Qi capital fought, the battlefield might be 9 Heavens City. Thus, he had to make some arrangements to avoid losses. Only Yi Shang and Princess Qing Yuan were left drinking tea. Princess Qing Yuan looked at Yi Shang and said, After you're done, bring me to your 9 regions world for a walk. Princess Qing Yuan Heaven. Night Sorrow nodded. At that moment, the 9 realms origin bead tore through space and fused with Night Sorrow's divine sea. The 9 realms origin bead brought Night Sorrow's avatar's storage ring in ripping space. With the origin of the world, you are so domineering. Princess Qing Yuan looked at Night Sorrow enviously. Even though she had a high position in the Qing Emperor's dynasty and controlled many lords, she didn't have the ability or opportunity to control the world. Night Sorrow smiled and shook his head. Princess, do as you wish. I plan to make some pills and make an armor. Okay. Your Majesty will also see the skills of a heavenly master alchemist and blacksmith. Princess Qing Yuan nodded. In the supreme world, heavenly master alchemists and blacksmiths were rare. After all, to become a heavenly master alchemist and blacksmith required talent and countless materials. It was very difficult to cultivate them unless they were from a big faction. It was very rare for a top faction to have 1 or 2 heavenly master alchemists and blacksmiths. Yi Shang refined the 9 transformation pill first. After this incident, he would go to the reincarnation great world. His main body still needed medicinal pills to increase his cultivation. The best thing he could prepare was that his main body did not need to worry about medicinal pills and resources. His main body could focus on cultivation. 7 days later, the 9 transformation pill was born and lightning tribulation appeared again. Night Sorrow made the 9 transformation pill with pill pattern. Pill tribulation. Then the previous pill tribulation should also be caused by you. Your Majesty knows about the pill this time. It is a pill for cultivating the body. What kind of pill did you make last time? Princess Qing Yuan asked when she saw Night Sorrow keeping the pill. If I don't tell you, Princess, you will be unhappy. My future days won't be good. If I tell you, I will probably bleed. It is the Yun Spirit pill. Night Sorrow said helplessly. The 9 transformation pill was a pill for strengthening the body. King-level cultivators didn't cultivate the body much, so they didn't need the 9 transformation pill. However, the Yun Spirit pill was different. All cultivators needed it. Yun Spirit pill. After being baptized by lightning tribulation, it is the pill pattern Yun Spirit pill. Your Majesty naturally needs it. You name the price. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Princess Qing Yuan was really interested. Her almond eyes were full of light. In the Supreme World, the Yun Spirit Pill was also very rare because the Spirit Root Grass was not available. I came from a small world and haven't seen many good things. Princess Qing Wan, you decide what price to pay. Yi Shang directly took out an elixir vein spirit accumulation pill and gave it to Princess Qing Wan. Night Sorrow only had a few pill pattern Yun Spirit pills left. He was also reluctant to part with them, but Princess Qing Wan said that she wanted the pill pattern Yun Spirit pill. Smart guy, these are king-level pills, marrow cleansing pill and spirit congealing pill. In addition, your majesty still has time to cultivate in the reincarnation palace. I'll give you 30 years. Princess Qing Wan took out 2 jade bottles and said, "Where is the reincarnation palace?" Night Sorrow asked. It's close to the Jiuxiao Pagoda in your Jiuxiao world group. It's a place where you can comprehend the will of heaven and earth. Currently, the top forces of the reincarnation world occupy the cultivation time. Cultivation time is relatively rare. Your Majesty can only obtain 100 years of cultivation time every 10,000 years. Princess Qing Wan said. Can I comprehend any will of heaven and earth? Night Sorrow's eyes lit up. Of course. As long as there is a will of heaven and earth, the reincarnation palace will naturally have it. That's the supreme world, you understand. Princess Qing Wan said. Understood. Night Sorrow's heart was very moved. He needed this time too much. Whenever you want to use this time, you can find your Majesty, no matter what the result of this matter is. Princess Qing Wan could see Night Sorrow's inner joy. Thank you, Princess. Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards Princess Qing Wan. Reincarnation Palace has 5,000 years of cultivation time every 10,000 years. Every top force gets different amounts of time. The Qing Emperor's dynasty is considered to have a larger share, but this time will be used by the dynasty to reward people who have made contributions. Your Majesty's cultivation time is also obtained by relying on his ability, not on the princess's status. Princess Qing Wan explained the importance of this time. PV Night Sorrow understands. Thank you, Princess, for your generosity. Night Sorrow stood up and cupped his hands. There are some things that you will know after you come in contact with them. The results of hard work and hard work are not the same. Both are risking their lives, but the benefits obtained in the small world and the supreme world are completely different. That is the stage for the strong to rise. Your Majesty didn't say this to win you over, it's the truth. Princess Qing Wan looked at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow understood what Princess Qing Wan said. If you fought with your life in the small world, you might only obtain low-level materials. However, if you obtained it in the supreme world, you might obtain a heaven-defying opportunity. Chapter 1107. At the end of this exchange they both got what they needed. Princess Qing Wan used the elixir with inscriptions to improve her cultivation aptitude. Okay. The marrow cleansing elixir was not very useful to Night Sorrow. After all, his flesh, blood, bones and marrow had all been turned into energy. But it was a rare elixir for others. The spirit congealing elixir was of great use to Yi Shang. It was an elixir that could stabilize the divine soul pearl, which could only be found by chance. As for the cultivation time in the Samsara Palace, it was of greater significance to Yi Shang. It could determine his future height. After straightening out his thoughts, Night Sorrow sorted out the refining materials and planned to refine an armor. He prepared some time purple sand and space iron. The space iron was purchased from the Celestial Master Pavilion. The time purple sand was very rare and could not be bought, but Bei Xing gave some to Night Sorrow. Looking at the space iron and time purple sand, Night Sorrow found that it was not enough to refine an armor. After thinking for a while, he decided to refine a triangular half-body armor. It was a compromise to protect the left shoulder, heart and left arm. In the battle, Night Sorrow held it with his right hand. It was most convenient to choose the left side of his body to resist the attack. With the idea, Night Sorrow began to refine. Leaving the Tianxian world for the world of Samsara was to fight. Weapons and armor must be strengthened. Melting the space iron, cooling it down, carving the formation, hammering it, forging the lock, carving the formation and hammering it. The half-body armor designed by Night Sorrow was a combination of the shoulder and the arm guard was a combination of scales and locks. This did not affect the flexibility. Princess Qing Wan was drinking tea and watching. Her soul power was exploring the surroundings. As long as Qi Du and others came, she could enter the formation immediately and watch the development of the situation. She would only take action when needed. One by one the parts were forged. Night Sorrow was also thinking during the forging, trying to perfect the shape and effect of the armor. Creating the armor took a lot of time and it took more than 20 days. Night Sorrow's idea of a space-time armor took shape. It was a silver, slanted triangular armor with purple light. The shoulder was a hole and it had a sharp slanted upward hook. The main body was silver, and the purple edges of the edges were like dragon scales that were tightly combined to form the arm guard and the body protection. With a swing of the sky splitter, he cut open his wrist and sprinkled his own blood on the armor. The owner recognition was complete, and the forging was complete. King's mid-grade defensive equipment, because it wasn't top-grade, no lightning tribulation descended. It was mainly because of the lack of materials. With Night Sorrow's soul power, a set of armor appeared on Night Sorrow's body. Following which, with a thought, Night Sorrow transformed the set of armor into shoulder pads, which he attached to Night Sorrow's left shoulder. Why isn't it a body armor, but something between armor and shoulder pads? Princess Qingwan asked. I had no other choice. I don't have enough materials. When I have enough materials in the future I'll evolve. That's all I can do for now, Night Sorrow said. Princess Qingwan didn't say anything. The lack of materials and resources was a problem that many cultivators faced. At that moment, Night Sorrow communicated with the Dragon Cauldron again. He planned to evolve the Dragon Cauldron. After becoming a heavenly adept, Night Sorrow saw the level and flaws of the Dragon Cauldron and the Spacetime Pagoda. The Dragon Cauldron was a high-grade sacred artifact. It was powerful now because the artifact spirit was complete and mature. The fundamental reason that limited the Dragon Cauldron's level was that the materials used were low-grade and the array engravings were rough. Back then Yao Qing was a saint. It was already very rare for him to be able to refine a high-grade sacred artifact. The Dragon Cauldron's evolution would depend on Night Sorrow to improve it. After confirming that the artifact spirit wouldn't be damaged, Night Sorrow started to evolve the Dragon Cauldron. First, he destroyed the array, engraved a new array and then added new materials. The material that Night Sorrow used this time was the Flame Origin Stone. It was the spoils of war from killing the Blazing King. Princess Qingwan could see that Night Sorrow was going to arm himself to the teeth. His weapon was a king artifact, his armor was a king artifact. Now that he was evolving the Dragon Cauldron he was using king-grade materials. The finished product would naturally be a king artifact. In the Supreme World perhaps only monarchs could do this. It was very difficult for ordinary kings to even possess a single king artifact. King-grade materials were hard to come by. Also, the price of hiring a heavenly adept was too high. Ordinary people couldn't afford it. When Night Sorrow was halfway through, Princess Qingwan stood up. They're here. Your Majesty should leave first. If you can't come to an agreement they will use force. Your Majesty will appear. Then Princess Qingwan flashed into the array. Princess, they definitely can't come to an agreement, right? After arranging the battle order, Zhou Tengfei, who had returned a few days ago, said, Of course. What kind of character is Chidu? Will Night Sorrow spoil him? Definitely not. Princess Qingwan nodded. She was very confident. Night Sorrow continued to forge the Dragon Cauldron. He didn't plan to stop. So what if Chidu was evil? He couldn't just come and interrupt him, right? Chidu was also found using the divination array. He didn't make a decision because he wasn't confident. He felt that there was no result if he continued to investigate. In terms of boldness, he wasn't as bold as Princess Qingwan. After arriving, Chidu frowned. His face was filled with impatience. An old man beside him pulled a chair for him before he sat down. After using 5 days, Night Sorrow completed the evolution of the Dragon Cauldron. The main body of the Dragon Cauldron was all origin flame stones. The previous materials were all treated as impurities by Night Sorrow during the replacement of the materials. After feeling the power and weight of the Dragon Cauldron, Night Sorrow stored the Dragon Cauldron that was already at the same level as the armor back into his body. The weapon spirit also needed to familiarize itself with the Dragon Cauldron. May I ask why Sire and the others are here? Night Sorrow poured himself a cup of tea and said, Pack up and leave with this prince. In the future you will serve this prince. Chidu said. It was equivalent to giving an order. This is your idea and not mine, right? Night Sorrow said with a smile. Although he knew that there was almost no possibility of negotiation, Night Sorrow didn't want to fall out with him immediately. He wanted to try again. Your idea isn't important. What is important is what this prince wants you to do. Chidu said with a cold face. Then I won't hide it from you. I am the Realm Lord. This is just a soul clone. What can you do to me? Night Sorrow said his trump card. You are the Realm Lord? Chidu stood up. Night Sorrow waved his arm and tore the space apart. Then, the 9 domain sources brought the armor and dragon cauldron into the space turbulence. Chi-Du waved his hand to stop them, but there was no effect. The origin of a world was supported by the power of the world. It wasn't something that anyone could stop or control. My true body will guide the origin of the world back. If you use force, you will only kill my soul clone. However, I will remember this hatred. So, you should go back to where you came from. Night Sorrow said. In fact, the 9 domain sources were in the space turbulence. If there was a battle, Princess Qing Wan would interfere. Chapter 1108. Then this prince will destroy your city, destroy all the people related to you, and wash the sky profound world and the 9 firmament world group with blood. Aren't you a virtuous person? This prince will let you be plagued with sin. Chi-Du's triangular eyes emitted a fierce light. Chi-Du, I will remember this name. You also remember today's threat. I will return it 100 times. My name is Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow said coldly. Who are you to threaten this prince? If you can't work for me, you can die. Chi-Du waved his hand and let the people behind him take action. Chi-Du, he is your majesty's man. What are you doing? Just as Chi-Du's subordinates were about to take action, Princess Qing Wan appeared. The time was right. It was time for her to take action and collect the results. Qing Wan, what do you mean? Chi-Du frowned. This situation was beyond his expectations. What do I mean? Your Majesty has said it very clearly. Night Sorrow is a member of the Qing Wan army. Are you planning to declare war on the Qing Wan army? Qing Wan said. Night Sorrow, you can do it, but your foundation and the 9 firmament world group, this prince will definitely destroy it. Looking at Zhuo Tingyun, who was standing beside Night Sorrow, he said. He did not have the chance to make a move on Night Sorrow. Chi-Du, your Majesty promised Night Sorrow that the Qing Emperor's dynasty will protect the 9 firmament world group. If you touch the 9 firmament world group, you will be declaring war on the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Princess Qing Wan looked coldly at Chi-Du and said the conditions that she had discussed with Night Sorrow. Qing Wan, this prince has given you enough face. Don't push your luck. This prince wants to destroy this 9 firmament world group. You can't protect it. Chi-Du narrowed his eyes and looked at Qing Wan. For the only authentic version, the others are all pirated versions. Then you can give it a try. Now you can mobilize your troops and see if you can return alive after entering the 9 firmament world group. In addition, as long as the people of your Red Emperor country appear in the 9 firmament world group again, the Green Phoenix army will immediately attack the subsidiary worlds of the Red Emperor country. If you want to play, your Majesty will play with you to the end. You say your Majesty can't protect you? Your Majesty doesn't believe it. Princess Qing Wan directly declared war in the face of Chi-Du's threat. Prince, forget it. Just treat it as giving Princess Qing Wan some face. The old man beside Chi-Du said in a low voice. Night Sorrow, remember this. Don't mess with this prince. Otherwise this prince will kill you. Chi-Du looked at Night Sorrow and said coldly. Who do you think you are? I said your threat to me, I will return it to you 100 times. In the future, when I have nothing to do, I will go to the Red Emperor country for a walk. Night Sorrow said. Chi-Du used the Sky Profound World and the 9 Firmament World Group to threaten him. Night Sorrow already saw him as a life-and-death enemy. You dare. Chi-Du stared at Night Sorrow and touched the hilt of the sword at his waist. Why wouldn't I dare? Night Sorrow snorted coldly. Pointing his finger at Night Sorrow, Chi-Du brought his men and left. He knew that if he stayed any longer he would be bullied. With Qing Wan here, he couldn't do anything to Night Sorrow. In terms of strength, Chi-Du and Princess Qing Wan were about the same. Even if there was a difference, it wouldn't be too big. However, in their respective forces, their positions were different. In the Qing Emperor dynasty, Qing Wan was the one with real power. She had the ability to take responsibility for the consequences of her declaration of war. If she wanted to fight, Qing Wan could directly mobilize the Qing Wan army. However, Chi-Du couldn't. If Chi-Du wanted to fight, he could fight alone, but if it was a large-scale battle, he had to report it because he didn't have a large-scale army. After Chi-Du left, Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards Qing Wan. He knew that things were set in stone. If Chi-Du had the ability, he wouldn't have retreated today. Brat. I reckon that in the reincarnation world, no one dares to threaten Chi-Du. You are the first. Good. Zhuo Tingyun gave Night Sorrow a thumbs up. Hee, with Princess Qing Wan here, he can't do anything to me. Why don't I leave a shadow in his heart? Night Sorrow said with a smile. That's true. However, he won't be afraid of your threat. Zhuo Tingyun said. Threat. I didn't threaten him. I'm telling the truth. If I don't fight back after being bullied like this, of course I have to fight back. Of course I have to fight back. If I endure it, then I won't be able to face my own heart. You can kill me but I can't endure it. I can lose anything but I can't lose my dignity, said Yishan. Arrogance backbone. Night Sorrow's words made Qing Wan and Zhuo Tingyun understand the pride in Night Sorrow's bones, the pride in the depths of his soul. Princess Qing Wan, don't worry. I won't be careless when fighting for the Qing Emperor's empire. Fighting with Qidu is my personal matter. Night Sorrow said. He didn't want Princess Qing Wan to have any misgivings. Princess Qing Wan nodded. Night Sorrow's promise made her feel more at ease. Everyone in the army had to follow orders. She was also worried that Night Sorrow would act recklessly. When the time comes, I'll follow you and cheer for you, Zhuo Tingyun said with a smile. He now found Night Sorrow very pleasing to the eye. Qidu was too arrogant, and Night Sorrow dared to extinguish Qidu's arrogance. Elder Zhuo, you're also acting recklessly. Princess Qing Wan glared at Zhuo Tingyun. At this time, Night Sorrow's main body also told Xiaolanjun that the interrealm teleportation formation could be connected. Seven Night City returned to normal. After recalling the 9 regions' origins, Night Sorrow removed the 1000 development illusionary formation. Then he brought Princess Qing Wan and Zhuo Tingyun to the pavilion in the center of the small building and brewed a pot of heart-cleansing tea. Calm the heart, good tea, Zhuo Tingyun said after drinking a mouthful. Heart-cleansing tea, not bad. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. Not bad? Aren't you a bit too arrogant? Zhuo Tingyun looked at Night Sorrow with disdain. If there's a chance, I'll let you experience real good tea, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Your Majesty also likes tea. I'm looking forward to your good tea. Princess Qing Wan put down the teacup in her hand and said, Of course, no problem. The interrealm teleportation formation is already being set up. We'll go to the 9 regions world later. I'll inform my family and friends, then I can follow Princess to the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Night Sorrow said. Okay. By the way, you said that the 9 regions world is facing a tribulation. What's going on? Princess Qing Wan asked. Without hiding anything from Princess Qing Wan, Night Sorrow told her the details of the 9 regions tribulation. The high-level king still needs the people of the 9 regions world to deal with it themselves. This is a bit difficult. Even though you have the ability to fight above your level, this is too big. Princess Qing Wan was a bit worried for Night Sorrow. Don't worry, I have a backup plan. Currently, the evil world can't break through the protection of the 9 regions' origins. Even if the evil king manages to break through, I still have time to react. Night Sorrow said. Clone? Isn't this just a clone? Zhuo Tingyun looked at Night Sorrow and said. There's one more, but it's fused with the heaven-sealing Great Hall that manifested from the 9 regions' essences. It can't leave that specific area. Right now, only my main body and this clone can move about in other places, Yishan said after thinking for a moment. Not bad, very powerful. Zhuo Tingyun nodded. Just as the 3 of them were talking, Xiaolanjun and Shueshi came to the small lakeside building and told Night Sorrow that 7 Night City had returned to normal. The interrealm teleportation formation was also open. Chapter 1109. Night Sorrow got up and made an inviting gesture. Princess Qing Wan stood up and let the guards guard this place. Only Zhuo Tingyun and Bai Ling followed Night Sorrow to the teleportation array. King-grade teleportation array, not bad. It can even connect to the reincarnation great world. Looking at the king-grade teleportation crystal on the teleportation array, the Blue Phoenix Monarch said with some surprise. I risked my life to get it. The 9 regions world is quite far from the mysterious sky world and the other worlds in the 9 clouds world group. Normal teleportation crystals won't work. Night Sorrow explained. Work hard. If you have enough battle merits, Your Majesty can talk to the Crown Prince Royal Brother and let your teleportation array be connected to the Qing Emperor's dynasty's teleportation array. Princess Qing Wan said. Night Sorrow nodded. He was very happy. Connecting to the mysterious sky world, the 9 regions world could develop to a new level. If it was connected to the supreme world, the development speed would increase. As for safety, you don't have to worry. In the supreme world, there is a secret technique for the teleportation array crystal to recognize its master. If the teleportation array crystal recognizes its master, if the master doesn't open it intentionally, people who are stronger than the master of the teleportation array crystal will not be able to teleport. In fact, this secret technique is tailor-made for the realm master. Princess Qing Wan explained to Night Sorrow. That's great. In that kind of situation, there's really nothing to worry about, said Yishang. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, there are many kinds of secret techniques. There is only one exchange condition, and that is merit. You can exchange for the resources you need with merit. Princess Qing Wan looked at Night Sorrow and said, Very good. I like this kind of challenge. I can fight for whatever I need. Night Sorrow's blood was boiling. This kind of challenge was what he needed and what he looked forward to. When they reached the teleportation array of the city in the sky, Xiaolanjun, who was in charge of guarding, bowed to Night Sorrow. Hong Yi and Lan Ning also arrived. The two of them also cupped their hands to Night Sorrow. When they reached the mansion, Night Sorrow introduced Princess Qing Wan to his parents, wife Shueshi Zhujiayun and the others. Night Sorrow explained the situation to everyone. Night Sorrow will go with you. You'll need help as well, Hong Yi said. There's no need. You guys can stay in the 9 domains world and work hard on your cultivation. I'll help you guys think of a way to deal with the doppelganger technique. I won't be taking the space-time pagoda with me. Just leave it here, Night Sorrow said. Then we'll go look for you after we finish cultivating our clones. Lan Ning spoke. They knew that Night Sorrow would be constantly battling in the world of reincarnation. Hence they were somewhat worried. Night Sorrow, the weakest member of the Green Phoenix Army, is a high-level Saint King. After you go, you will be assigned a position according to your ability. The lowest position should be a captain, so you can have 2 personal attendants. If you are a captain, you can have 4 personal attendants. The 2 of them are kings, so they can follow you. It will be more convenient for them to have their own people as personal attendants. The doppelganger technique is not valuable, so your majesty can give it to them, Princess Green Phoenix said. Thank you, your highness. Hong Yi and Lan Ning cupped their hands towards Princess Green Phoenix. Night Sorrow arranged accommodations for Princess Green Phoenix and the others before setting off on the boat. This was something he had to do every time he returned to the city in the sky. In the attic of the guest room, Princess Green Phoenix slowly tasted her tea. Princess, this kid is a good seedling. His body of merit is almost perfect in the 9 domains world, Zhuo Tingyun said. That's right. Those with a body of merit have strong beliefs and will fight against the world in anger. They will slaughter thousands of soldiers for their ideals. However, they won't have any narrow-mindedness in their hearts. They won't have the slightest bit of narrow-mindedness. They will only become stronger and stronger as they walk down the path. Their merits will become more and more abundant because their ideals and beliefs are in line with the heavenly Tao, Princess Green Phoenix said. She cultivated the way of the gentleman. There were some things she couldn't do, but she could see through. Princess, how about you assign him to me? Zhuo Tingyun chuckled. That won't do. I already have my own thoughts and arrangements. A treasured sword's edge is sharpened. There is a position suitable for him. Princess Qing Wan spoke. Every time the Green Phoenix Army goes to war, blood will flow like a river. Won't this hurt his merits? Zhuo Tingyun voiced his worries. It won't. The heavenly Tao's judgment is mainly based on the starting point. Why does he fight? It's for the stability of the 9 clouds world. It's for the fate of the millions of creatures in the 9 clouds world. This is merit. Those with a body of merit do things that are in line with the heavenly Tao. Every step they take is correct. Princess Green Phoenix shook her head. Zhuo Tingyun nodded. With Princess Green Phoenix's explanation, he understood clearly. While Princess Green Phoenix was still thinking, Zhuo Tingyun and Bai Ling were standing at the side. Princess Green Phoenix sat quietly for an hour before shaking her head and drinking tea. She was a little puzzled. She had checked on Night Sorrow, but when her soul power got close to Night Sorrow, she felt a suppression. It was an elemental suppression. She didn't understand where this suppression came from. One must know that she had the life attribute and will of life as her main attribute. Currently, no one could suppress her, but Night Sorrow had this kind of feeling. Princess Green Phoenix didn't say this to Zhuo Tingyun and Bai Ling because it was too important. This was Night Sorrow's foundation. After staying in the lake for half a day, Night Sorrow returned to the mansion and went to the guest room where Princess Green Phoenix was staying. Shall I bring Princess around to take a look? Night Sorrow said. Okay, then let's take a look. The city in the sky is not bad. It's a good place to cultivate. Princess Green Phoenix had a very high evaluation of the city in the sky. Then Night Sorrow brought Princess Green Phoenix, Zhuo Tingyun and Bai Ling to the Profound Mysteries Realm, Supreme River Space and Nether Realm. Then they went to Clear Sky City. At this time, Clear Sky City was in the midst of construction and had a certain scale. Now the people of the 9 regions world were united. It was mainly because of Night Sorrow, the absolute core. No matter which faction or family it was, they would absolutely listen to Night Sorrow and the Commander-in-Chief's residence's orders. The hard work they put in now was the foundation of their future development. Only one original copy, the others were all pirated copies. The management is very good. There are no problems with the prospects of the Nine Regions world. Princess Green Phoenix commented. After walking around Clear Sky City, Night Sorrow brought them back to the city in the sky. Night Sorrow did not say goodbye to anyone. His original body was still in the Nine Regions world to cultivate and guard. After all, the threat of the evil spirit world still existed. After having dinner with his parents and wife and resting for a while, Night Sorrow took Hong Yi and Lan Ning and followed Princess Green Phoenix. It's actually not bad. The original body's cultivation will not be delayed. The clone can work hard and fight for opportunities and a future, Princess Green Phoenix said. Night Sorrow nodded. His original body had already made the dual polarity pill. After using it, it could increase the compatibility of space and time attributes. It could even transform into space-time rules and space-time intent. The group arrived at the Nine Clouds world. In front of the teleportation formation, Night Sorrow met some of the leaders of the Nine Clouds world group. Shinshao Monarch, Zishao Monarch, Xiantian Monarch, Seven Rain Monarch were all there. There were also a few monarchs that Night Sorrow did not know and was familiar with. Chapter 11:10. All the sovereigns are here. This made Night Sorrow blush with shame. Night Sorrow cupped his fists and said, "You are the Sector Lord. As long as you return to the Nine Regions world, no one can do anything to you. You are willing to carry it because of the Nine Clouds world group. We understand." Purple Cloud Sovereign said, "Work hard. You have to weigh everything in your heart. If there are any problems, send a message back." Divine Night Sovereign handed Night Sorrow a spirit crystal. "Thank you for your concern, Divine Night Monarch." Night Sorrow bowed and accepted the spirit crystal. This was Divine Night Sovereign's kind intentions. Whether he wanted to use it or not was up to him. "I will protect the development of Seven Night City. I will also announce the ownership of Seven Night City. Without you, as long as I am alive, no one can touch Seven Night City." Xiantian Sovereign looked at Night Sorrow and made a promise. He felt that he owed Night Sorrow. In fact, he also owed Night Sorrow. "Night Sorrow, I owe you. If you need any help, feel free to send a message back," said the Seven Rain Sovereign. "Seven Rain Sovereign, I am very sorry. I have let you down," Night Sorrow said apologetically. In terms of effort and return, Night Sorrow did not owe Seven Rain Sovereign anything. Instead, Seven Rain Sovereign owed him more. However, Seven Rain Sovereign valued him from the very beginning. It was friendship. Yi Shang, the older generation of the Nine Firmament World Group, is useless. We can't let others threaten you with the safety of the Nine Firmament World Group. "I'm sorry." No Beginning King bowed slightly to Yi Shang. It was very rare for a monarch to bow to another monarch because their statuses were not equal. "No Beginning Sovereign, you are too polite. Black Wind and Shinbai are my friends. You are also an elder that needs to be respected. This is a small gift. Please accept it." Night Sorrow thought for a moment, then took out a jade bottle and handed it to No Beginning Sovereign. He felt that as a sovereign, if No Beginning Sovereign could bow to him, it was a sign of good morals. He was qualified to use the soul cultivation liquid. Then Night Sorrow looked at Monarch Hailan. "When Long Jean comes out of seclusion, help me say hi. When we meet again, we won't leave until we're drunk." "Very well. He has already entered the king's realm. I am still cultivating in the Nine Heavens Tower. I will pass on your message." Monarch Hailan nodded. "Thank you all for sending me off. Let's go." Night Sorrow turned to look at Blue Wan's Phoenix carriage. Then the group entered the inter-realm teleportation array and began the teleportation. "I wonder what you are giving me," No Beginning Sovereign said as he looked at the jade bottle in his hand. "I won't disappoint you." She had already guessed what was inside the jade bottle. She was very shocked by how much soul cultivation liquid Night Sorrow had obtained. "Yao Yu and Song Yun have disappointed me greatly." Monarch Shinshao sighed. After knowing about Night Sorrow's decision, Monarch Shinshao notified the other monarchs of the Nine Cloud World Group. "Those two bastards didn't come," Lord Shintian cursed. "Forget it. I'm very happy that most of you are here. One or two is nothing." Monarch Shinshao shook his head. "Hee, they're hostile to Night Sorrow, and they're coveting Night Sorrow's resources. They'll regret it in the future." The Seven Rains sovereign sneered and cupped his hands at the others before turning to leave. The other monarchs also shook their heads and left. Everyone despised Monarch Tsangyun and Yao Yu's actions. After No Beginning Sovereign returned to Endless Mountain, he opened the jade bottle. After opening it, his expression changed. "Master, what's wrong?" Luo Qisha, King 7 Kills, asked. He had followed No Beginning Sovereign for many years and had never seen such a drastic change in his expression. "I owe him a big favor. Currently, I have no way to repay him." No Beginning Sovereign shook his head. He understood that it was because he bowed to express his apology that he had received Night Sorrow's approval. Therefore, Night Sorrow had given him an opportunity. "Little brother, you and your 6th senior brother have made a good friend. You have to work hard. Otherwise, you will not be able to keep up." No Beginning Sovereign looked at Haifeng and said, "Master, I do not understand." Haifeng rubbed the back of his head and said, "Night Sorrow gave me 3 drops of soul cultivation liquid. No Beginning Sovereign did not hide it from his disciple." "Ah, this is a good friend. He is a true friend," Haifeng said happily. Chapter Unspecified Currency Section 1-inch Friends are not separated by status. He is a king and you are a half-step king. Would you feel comfortable sitting together and drinking tea? For the sake of friendship you have to keep up. Even if you cannot keep up, the gap cannot be too big. No Beginning Sovereign looked at Haifeng and said. Haifeng bowed and nodded. He understood what No Beginning Sovereign meant. "Qisha, if you have nothing to do, come to Heaven Mystic World more often. Night Sorrow has built a city called 7 Night City. If you have any trouble, help him out. If it is a big problem, inform Monarch Shen Tian or me." No Beginning Sovereign instructed his eldest disciple Luo Qisha. "I thank you on behalf of Night Sorrow, Master." Haifeng bowed and said, "I don't need it. Even without the soul cultivation liquid, I would still do it." Yishang left the continent of the 9 Cloud Worlds to fight for the safety of the continent of the 9 Cloud Worlds. "As the king of the continent of the 9 Cloud Worlds, I have the responsibility to help him," said No Beginning King, shaking his head. Luo Qisha and Haifeng looked at each other. Neither of them understood what No Beginning Sovereign meant. Seeing his disciple's confusion, No Beginning Sovereign told him what happened to Night Sorrow. "The Red Emperor country is too shameless. They actually used the 9 Firmament World Group to threaten Night Sorrow." After hearing No Beginning Sovereign's words, Haifeng was so angry that his hair stood on end. No Beginning Sovereign stood up and left. There was nothing he could do about this. "Little brother, we can't interfere in these matters. Our boundless mountain owes Yishang too much. Your 3rd senior sister's lifespan was given by him. Master's opportunity was also given by him. I will be going to the profound heaven world soon. You have to work hard in your cultivation. Otherwise, the gap between you and your 6th senior brother, 3rd senior sister, and Yishang will only grow bigger and bigger." Luo Qisha warned Haifeng before he stood up and left. After knowing the whole story, even if No Beginning Sovereign did not ask him to do it, there were some things he would do. Haifeng waved his arm and left the No Beginning Palace. He had the motivation to cultivate. Night Sorrow and the others came out of the teleportation array. The location they were at was the Qing Emperor city of the Reincarnation World, the capital of the Qing Emperor dynasty. "Princess, are we going back to the Qing Yuan Palace or to the army's encampment?" Zhuo Tingyun asked. "Let's go to the Qing Yuan Palace first. Your Majesty still has to meet father and brother Crown Prince." Princess Qing Yuan said. In the Qing Emperor dynasty, the number 1 person was naturally the Qing Emperor. The number 2 person was the Crown Prince who was in charge of the Qing Lin army. Then there was the commander of the Qing Yuan army, Qing Yuan. After flying for a while, the group entered the vast Qing Yuan Palace. This was the residence of Princess Qing Yuan. Looking at the guards at the door, whose cultivation could not be detected, Night Sorrow was shocked. This was the style of the top forces in the Supreme World. The guards at the door were all intermediate king level and above. Chapter 11:11. Entering Qing Yuan Palace, Qing Yuan arranged for Night Sorrow to stay in the guest house. Looking around the guest house, Night Sorrow made a cup of tea. "Hong Yi Laning, you two are different from me. I'm a doppelganger, so there's danger and leeway. You two are the main body, so you must always pay attention to your own safety. We're your followers, so there shouldn't be a problem if we listen to your orders. You don't have to worry about us," Laning said. "Take these Saint Spirit Stones and use them for your cultivation. Take the Spirit Found Pills as well." Night Sorrow took out some Saint Spirit Stones and the Yun Spirit Pills he refined later and gave them to Hong Yi and Laning. "Thank you. By the way, we're your followers now, so it's not appropriate to call you by your name. Calling you Sector Lord will expose your background and we can't call you Commander. What should we call you in the future? Hong Yi said. They were about to enter Qing Yuan army, so calling him Commander Han was taboo. Then just call me Young Master. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said. Translator. Nioibo Studio Editor. Nioibo Studio. Hong Yi and Lan Ning nodded. Danger and opportunity coexist. We've come to world of reincarnation, and as long as we work hard we'll get what we want. The only thing we're lacking now is our starting point. We can't even see the cultivation of the guards at the door. Night Sorrow said. Hong Yi and Lan Ning nodded. World of reincarnation was too deep and King was nothing. If they hadn't followed Night Sorrow and Princess Qing Yuan, they wouldn't have been able to establish themselves here. Drinking tea, Night Sorrow felt that the current situation was not bad. He only brought a little soul-nourishing tea, and left the rest for his main body to improve his soul cultivation. His main body used time acceleration to improve his cultivation in the pagoda of time and space, and his energy cultivation could quickly catch up with his realm. His realm could also be deduced based on his comprehension. However, Night Sorrow's main body wasn't deducing his realm cultivation yet. While improving his cultivation, he fused the will of time and space and set off towards the will of time and space. Of the 4 high-level attributes, the life and death attributes lean towards the increase of life level, the time and space attributes lean towards the increase of battle strength. The life and death attributes were the yin and yang attributes, while the time and space attributes were the time and space attributes. They were above all attributes below the supreme attribute. After coming to the world of reincarnation, Yishang relied on his control of the time and space attributes. Yishang didn't dare to expose the existence of the sovereign attribute and the void attribute. Otherwise he would be killed. Young Master, once you enter the army, you must get a high position. That way you won't easily become cannon fodder, Reddy said to Yishan. Yes, there's nothing wrong with charging and breaking through enemy lines. However, if you're controlled by many people, it's easy for problems to arise. It's not good to meet a boss with a more ruthless personality. Yishang nodded. Let's see how Princess Qing Yuan arranges it. No matter if it's a small team leader or a large team leader, they all follow the commander. It's very important what kind of commander we are placed under. If we meet someone with a gentle personality, it's easy to get along. Night Sorrow nodded, but he felt that Princess Qing Yuan wouldn't arrange for him to be in the position of cannon fodder after putting in so much effort. At this time, Qing Yuan came to the Qing Emperor's palace. This time, she was ordered by the Qing Emperor to go to the 9-firmament world to find someone with a virtuous body. As for why Qing Yuan arranged for Night Sorrow to be in the Qing Yuan army, it wasn't her own decision. The Qing Emperor arranged for Qing Yuan to go because he wanted his daughter's subordinates to be stronger. If he didn't want to give someone to Qing Yuan, he wouldn't have sent Qing Yuan. After entering the Qing Emperor's palace, Qing Yuan first went to the Crown Prince's palace. In the Qing Emperor's palace, the Qing Emperor was the master, but many things were handled by Crown Prince Qing Lin. Sister, you're back. Did everything go well? Qing Yuan entered the palace. Crown Prince Qing Lin, who was originally writing a document, stood up. Qing Lin's body was a little weak. He wore a light purple battle robe with a qilin embroidered on it. He had a silver crown on his head. He looked very scholarly, but those who knew him knew that not only was his position high in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, his own strength was also unparalleled. Greetings, brother Crown Prince. Everything went well. I've already brought the person back. After greeting you, I'll report to father. Qing Yuan smiled and said, It's good that it went well. A subordinate with a virtuous body is 100 benefits and no harm. Qing Lin smiled and said, In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, there were many princes but only one princess. Logically speaking, as the only princess of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Qing Yuan should have the most comfortable life. However, that was not the case. All the sons and daughters of the Qing Emperor were treated the same. They were all fighting for the dynasty. The most outstanding ones were Crown Prince Qing Lin and Princess Qing Yuan. They were also the closest to each other. Then the two of them left the Crown Prince's palace. They passed through the Qing Emperor's palace and arrived at the Azure Sky Pavilion. The Azure Sky Pavilion was the place where the Qing Emperor cultivated. Only a limited number of people could enter and leave. If others entered without permission, they would be executed. When they arrived at the Azure Sky Pavilion, Qing Lin and Qing Yuan bowed. Come in. A majestic voice came from the Azure Sky Pavilion. Hearing the summons, Qing Lin and Qing Yuan entered the Azure Sky Pavilion. Inside the Azure Sky Pavilion, an old man wearing a black robe embroidered with mountain and river patterns was playing chess with a middle-aged man wearing a brocade robe and a golden crown. Seeing Qing Lin and Qing Wan enter, the old man in the black robe stood up and saluted them. He was the Qing Emperor's divination master, Xian Daozi. Greetings, father. Greetings, Taoist master. Qing Lin and Qing Wan saluted the Qing Emperor and Xian Daozi. Xian Daozi was the Qing Emperor's personal attendant. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, everyone had to respect him. Sir, I'll take my leave first. Xian Daozi bowed to the Qing Emperor and nodded to Qing Lin and Qing Wan before leaving the Azure Sky Pavilion. Have a seat, you two. How is Qing Wan? The Qing Emperor waved at Qing Lin and Qing Wan. I paid a small price. Everything else went well. Qing Wan said. Talents are always arrogant. Paying a small price is nothing. The Qing Emperor nodded. It was originally very difficult to succeed. It was the Red Emperor's kingdom's Chidu who got involved and gave me a chance, Qing Wan said. Very difficult to succeed? No way. Is there anyone who can resist your invitation? Qing Lin said with a smile. It's true. That guy is very stubborn and is not afraid of threats. Not only is he a body of merit, but he is also a sector master of a world. When we found him, he was just a clone who was not afraid of death, Qing Wan said. A sector master of a world. It seems that he is not just a body of merit. He is also a person who is favored by the heavens. The Qing Emperor nodded. It's a bit of an exaggeration. He himself is a legend. He is only a little over 100 years old, and now he is a king with 2 high-level attributes. He is very strong at fighting above his level. The reason he succeeded this time was because of the threat from the Red Emperor's kingdom. It made him feel disgusted and apprehensive. That was why Qing Wan had the chance to bring him back, Qing Wan said. Chapter 11-12. The stability and rise of a force is accompanied by killing. When there is killing, there will be sins. When there are too many sins, it will naturally affect the rise and fall of a force. At this time, it is very important for a person with a body of merit to join. It may hurt his merit, but it can't be helped. The Qing Emperor, who was wearing a brocade robe and a golden crown, said with illusory and real energy gathering around him. Maybe it's a coincidence. He joined the Qing Emperor's expedition this time. It won't hurt his merit, at least it won't hurt his merit because his starting point is to fight. It is for the Red Emperor's country to fight against the threat of the 9 Clouds world. Qing Wan said. Good. Killing the goose that lays the golden eggs is not the way of a king. Father is not willing to destroy a person with a body of merit. It is even a sin. This is the best. The Qing Emperor said. Congratulations, father. Congratulations, sister. Qing Lin said with a smile. Qing Wan, what do you plan to do? The Qing Emperor asked. 2 positions, my daughter's personal guards, and the Thunder Army under Commander Lei Ting. Qing Wan said. Sister, the Thunder Army must fight in every battle. Is this appropriate? Qing Lin's expression changed. Qing Wan nodded and told him her thoughts. She felt that Yi Shang needed to sharpen himself and grow. Now that he was full of sharpness, it was the time for him to fight. It was also the time for Yi Shang to establish himself. You want him to accumulate merits and then get to a more important position, right? The Qing Emperor asked. Yes, he is a talent that must be valued. Not to mention his strength and potential, he is also a heavenly alchemist and weapon refiner. His attainments and formations are also very profound. Qing Wan said. Very good. We will follow your decision. However, father wants to meet this young man when he has time. You can all leave. The Qing Emperor waved his hand. Qing Lin and Qing Wan bowed to the Qing Emperor and then left the Azure Sky Pavilion. After walking out of the Azure Sky Pavilion, Qing Lin patted his forehead. Father might be interested in this Night Sorrow. Qing Wan was also stunned for a moment. She and Qing Lin didn't know much about Qing Emperor, but Qing Emperor loved formations and refining weapons. When he said that Night Sorrow was a heavenly master, Qing Emperor had an obvious reaction. Maybe I'm just slightly interested. Who wouldn't be interested in such a person? Qing Wan said after thinking for a while. Ever since Big Senior Brother went crazy, Father hasn't taken in any disciples. This Night Sorrow might be able to catch Father's attention, Qing Lin said. As one of the supreme figures in the world of samsara, the Qing Emperor only had one disciple, Sandalwood. Sandalwood was extremely talented. Her cultivation had improved rapidly, but her soul and state of mind had not kept up. Furthermore, she had been obsessed with studying formations, which had led her to go crazy. She was still imprisoned by the Qing Emperor and no one could see her. Qing Wan didn't say anything. After parting with Qing Lin, she returned to the Azure Phoenix Palace. While drinking tea, Qing Wan was lost in thought. She felt that what Qing Lin said was possible. It was hard to find a famous cultivator, but it was also hard to find a good disciple. Cultivators with fame and status wouldn't take in disciples easily. If the disciple didn't achieve anything, it meant that the master was incompetent. If the disciple didn't do well, it would ruin the master's reputation. Night Sorrow was a sector lord, had the body of merit, and was also a king with 2 high-level attributes. It was normal for such a talent to attract the attention of the tycoon. Qing Wan didn't have any orders in the Azure Phoenix Palace. Night Sorrow made pills every day and then practiced his combat skills. Cultivation didn't mean fighting strength. When one was stuck in the realm in cultivation, the way to improve fighting strength was to improve fighting skills. The power of fighting skills was something that couldn't be ignored. Night Sorrow had his own understanding of fighting skills. There were defensive fighting skills, speed fighting skills, and offensive fighting skills. Offensive fighting skills were divided into control and killing moves. Night Sorrow didn't have any defensive fighting skills at the moment. What he was thinking about now was defensive fighting skills. Night Sorrow fused vibration force and ripple force into his chi shield. When faced with an attack, the chi shield would use a special method to eliminate the opponent's attack power. Night Sorrow had 2 ideas. One was time ripple force, the other was space ripple force. Currently, Night Sorrow controlled king-level energy of time and space. His willpower was also space and time willpower. If he used one method to defend against 2 types of energy, the opponent would be able to see through it. Therefore he wanted to study too. Because the time attribute willpower and energy were higher than the space attribute, he first studied time ripple force. The Blue Shadow's attacks were violent. Night Sorrow let the Blue Shadow attack his defense. Then, he continuously improved the strength of the Chi Shield and the method to reduce the attack power. Blue Wan didn't summon him. Night Sorrow just calmed down and cultivated. Bit by bit, he polished away the flaws in the Chi Shield. After half a month, Night Sorrow had completely mastered the Time Ripple Chi Shield. The Blue Shadow's full power slash only had 20% of its energy that could hurt Night Sorrow's body. The 2 of them used about the same amount of energy. Only R is the original version. Hashtag, the other J unspecified currency are all pirated copies. Normally, defense would consume more energy than attack. Now, Night Sorrow and the Blue Shadow used the same amount of energy. It could be seen that Night Sorrow's Chi Shield was at an extremely high level. When Blue Wan came to see Night Sorrow, she just happened to see the Blue Shadow's full power slash being blocked by Night Sorrow. Clap, clap, clap. Blue Wan clapped her hands. Night Sorrow's defensive fighting skill was too strong. Your Highness is here. Night Sorrow cupped his hands and greeted. Because all the servants in Blue Wan Palace called the princess Your Highness, Night Sorrow also called her that. In the Qing Emperor's empire, there were many princes and grandsons. However, only the Blue Qilin Crown Prince and Blue Wan Princess had the right to call her Your Highness. This was allowed by the Qing Emperor. Your Chi Shield is very powerful. Which expert taught you this? Blue Wan found a place to sit and said, This is a defensive fighting skill that I have been working on recently. I have embarrassed myself in front of Your Highness. Night Sorrow said, I have been working on it recently. I've researched it myself recently. Not bad. Actually, this can't be considered a battle skill. Battle skills are just a general term in the normal world. Battle skills have different names according to their levels. Low-level cultivators use crudely called battle skills. Higher-level ones are called secret skills. Higher-level ones are called mystic skills. Your defensive technique is a true mystic skill, and its level isn't low. Princess Qing Wan looked at Yi Shan as she spoke. I really don't know about this. I just feel that I can increase my combat strength. Night Sorrow said. He understood that the sovereign world was indeed different. The level of cultivation was high. Very few people create mystic skills and they won't easily teach others. Therefore, mystic skills are rather rare. Normal practitioners can't get them. Blue Wan Princess once again looked at Night Sorrow in a higher light. Night Sorrow understood that many people didn't pay attention to energy techniques. In the end, it led to a brute force battle. They relied on their cultivation and didn't increase their combat strength. Chapter 11-13. After that, Princess Qing Wan explained the situation of the Qing Wan army to Night Sorrow. The Qing Yuan army was divided into 4 armies. The rear army was the Imperial Court Army, the left army was the Black Armored Army, the right army was the Flying Feather Army, and the Vanguard Army was the Thunder Army. There were a total of 4 generals and only 1 commander, and that was Princess Qing Yuan. #%up, Your Majesty plans to send you to the Thunder Army. Princess Qing Yuan explained the situation of the Qing Yuan army and spoke of her thoughts. Sure, there is no problem. Knight Sorrow nodded his head. Okay, as long as you feel that there is no problem. Also, you will be the captain of Your Majesty's guards. When Your Majesty goes to war or when there is no war, you will follow by Your Majesty's side. Princess Qing Yuan said the second arrangement. I'm afraid this is not too good. Knight Sorrow's strength is low. If I charge and break through enemy lines, I will at most die on the battlefield. However, Princess's safety is more important than the sky. Knight Sorrow cannot bear the responsibility. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands and said, joining an army required one to fight and kill opponents. However, being the captain of the princess's guards was different. It involved more things. Don't worry, we will talk about this later. Follow Your Majesty to the Qing Yuan army first. After familiarizing yourself with it, we will see what position you can take. Princess Qing Yuan changed the topic. The Qing Yuan army's encampment was at Lin Tian Cliff outside the Qing Emperor's city. It was the southern gate of the Qing Emperor's empire. Princess Qing Yuan brought Zhuo Tingyun and the guards as well as Knight Sorrow, Hong Yi, and Lan Yi to sit on the teleportation circle in the mansion and teleport to the Qing Yuan army's encampment at Lin Tian Cliff. When they arrived at their destination, Knight Sorrow saw 4 neat barracks. Those were the 4 armies of the Qing Yuan army. The situation of the army was different from what Knight Sorrow had imagined. There weren't many soldiers. After probing with his soul power, Knight Sorrow discovered 4 armies, each with only 4,000 soldiers. As if he had seen through Knight Sorrow's thoughts, Zhuo Tingyun opened his mouth. The Green Phoenix army doesn't want trash, they only want elites. That's why there aren't many people, only 17,000. 10 people form a small team and the leader is a small team leader. 100 people form a large team, and the leader is a large team leader. 1,000 people form a large team and the leader is a commander. What about the other 1,000? Knight Sorrow nodded at Zhuo Tingyun. It's the Green Phoenix battalion that this commander commands. It's independent of the 4 armies. Zhuo Tingyun explained to Knight Sorrow once again. Qing Yuan led a group of people into the command tent and sat down. After a while, a few people came to the tent to pay their respects. Has it been quiet recently? Have there been any movements from the Red Emperor's country in the Dark Abyss? Princess Qing Yuan asked. The Red Emperor's country has been mobilized from time to time, but there have been no abnormal movements. However, the Dark Abyss's army has shown signs of invading. Even if the princess doesn't return, this subordinate still has to report. A middle-aged man bowed and reported. The middle-aged man was wearing a silver armor. His body was emitting a dense killing intent and his face had a resolute expression. Seems like the war isn't far away. Thunder God General, this time Your Majesty has brought a person to your Thunder God General. Princess Qing Yuan said to the man who reported the news, who was the Thunder God General. Reporting to the commander, the Thunder God General's organization is complete. We don't need any more people. This subordinate will also seriously recruit new people. The Thunder God General said. In the Green Phoenix army, there is no nepotism. Your Majesty also won't use any connections. He is Knight Sorrow. Whether or not he is suitable for the Thunder God General is enough. Princess Qing Yuan said. Facing the Thunder God General, she was also somewhat helpless. The Thunder God General's temperament was like this. It could even be said that he was somewhat old-fashioned. Elder Zhuo, bring Knight Sorrow out for a walk. Tell me about the Thunder God General's situation. After explaining her position, Princess Qing Yuan nodded to Zhuo Tingyun. Zhuo Tingyun bowed and brought Knight Sorrow and the others out of the tent. He then talked about the history of the Green Phoenix Army, military achievements and rules. In the Green Phoenix Army, only the rank of captain and above could not stay in the barracks. The rest of the soldiers had to stay in the barracks to train and cultivate. Don't blame the Thunder God General for rejecting you. In the Green Phoenix Army, the Thunder God General's fighting strength is the strongest, the most cohesive army, and also the army with the most outstanding military achievements. There were many people who held high positions in the Qing Emperor's imperial court who wanted to send their descendants to the Thunder God General for military achievements. In the end, they were chased away by the Thunder God General. On this point, the Thunder God General will not give face to anyone, including the imperial princes and imperial descendants. Zhuo Tingyun said. The commander of the army must be upright and plain-spoken. He must adhere to his principles. Otherwise, how can he convince the masses and lead the army? Knight Sorrow understands this point and also admires it. Knight Sorrow nodded. He understood that the Thunder God General did not want him. In the command tent, the Thunder God General said, "Commander, that person is too young. Although he has the cultivation of a 2-star king at such a young age, this is very impressive. However, the Thunder God General's blood flows like rivers in every war. He might not be able to withstand it." Thunder God General, you are looking down on him. His name is Knight Sorrow. Since his debut he has been fighting for fate. He has experienced many battles big and small. Moreover, he was once a commander and has led many world wars. He is not joining the Thunder God General for military achievements. He is truly capable. Do you think your Majesty will joke around with the Thunder God General? Princess Green Phoenix said. She understood that the Thunder God General looked down on Knight Sorrow. If the Thunder God General does not want him, my black armored army will take him. An old man with a thick beard said. He was the Black Armored Army's commander, Zhu Xuanjia. When the Green Phoenix Army was established, the 4 commanders were the commanders that supported the Green Phoenix Army. Therefore, the 4 armies of the Green Phoenix Army had the names of the 4 commanders. No. Thunder God General, bring Knight Sorrow over. This is a military order. As for whether he can become a small captain or a large captain, it will depend on his ability. In the future he will be an ordinary soldier in the Thunder God General. Your Majesty's relationship with him has nothing to do with the Green Phoenix Army. Princess Green Phoenix said. This subordinate understands. Qin Leiteng bowed and said. Then let's go. Bring him over and take a look. Your Majesty is also curious to see how far he can go. Princess Green Phoenix said. This commander will also go take a look. Zhu Xuanjia was very interested in Knight Sorrow. The other 2 commanders also followed. They all wanted to know what was so special about the person that Princess Green Phoenix thought highly of. After the few of them left the tent, they called Knight Sorrow and the other 2 and came to the tent where the Thunder God General of the Green Phoenix Army was. Knight Sorrow, this lord is the Thunder God General, Qin Leiteng. The commander wants you to join the Thunder God General. To be honest, this lord does not want you. However, military orders cannot be disobeyed. Now this lord has a few questions to ask you. If this lord is not satisfied, you can go back to where you came from. Qin Leiteng looked at Knight Sorrow and said. Knight Sorrow understands. Commander, please ask. Knight Sorrow said. What is the most important thing in an army? Qin Leiteng asked. The soul of the army, morale, unity, and the commander's wisdom. Knight Sorrow said. Tell me. Qin Leiteng was stunned for a moment before saying. The soul of the army is the soul of the army. It is also the belief and ideology. Whether it is to protect the homeland or to expand the territory, this is very important. Knight Sorrow looked at Princess Green Phoenix and said. Chapter 11:14. Is there a difference? Zhu Xuanjia asked. Yes. If I'm in my own hometown, I'm only willing to fight to protect my hometown. I'm not willing to destroy the peace of other people's homes in order to expand our territory. Knight Sorrow spoke out his philosophy. Old Zhu, step aside. It's none of your business. What about now? Qin Leiteng glanced at Zhu Xuanjia and asked again. To me now, it's fine as long as I obey military orders. No matter why the Qing army is fighting, I'm fighting to protect the Pure Land in my heart. The Qing Emperor's dynasty is protecting my hometown. I'm fighting for the Qing Emperor's dynasty. It's that simple, Knight Sorrow said. Actually, I think that obedience is the most important thing for an army. I'm satisfied with your answer just now. Besides, you also mentioned unity and the wisdom of a commander. I'd like to hear your opinion. Qin Leiteng nodded and said. Unity is very important in a battle. A battle between armies is different from individual battles. We have to lean on each other's backs and protect each other. We have to be able to block the attacks for our brothers behind us. Knight Sorrow thought of his own god-slaying team. His eyes were filled with longing. Blocking the attacks for our brothers. This is a little difficult. However, the concept is good. Qin Leiteng nodded. This is not a concept. I once led a team. Void Inquiry Stage experts could kill Venerable Realm experts. Venerable Realm experts could join the battlefield of Sacred Realm experts because everyone was united and could block the attacks for their brothers. In every battle, there would be people who would be severely injured but none of them died. I'm sorry. Night Sorrow talked too much. Night Sorrow shook his head, trying to get rid of the thoughts brought by the god-slaying team. Original. Qin Leitang and the others fell into deep thought. After a while, Qin Leitang looked at Night Sorrow again. Tell me more about the wisdom of a commander. The heart of a commander is the heart of an army. The will of a commander is the will of an army. To be frank, a general can't exhaust 1,000 soldiers to death. This is what it means. Night Sorrow said. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, the other two commanders, Bai Jinting of the court army and Lin Feiyu of the flying feather army, turned around. Night Sorrow's words were too harsh. They were waiting for Qin Leitang to lose his temper. Zhu Xuanjia gave Night Sorrow a thumbs up. Qin Leitang was not angry. Instead he was very calm. It's not pleasant, but it's also true. As for your position, it's up to you. The Thunder Army has a challenge system. If an ordinary soldier can defeat a squad leader, then the position will be swapped. If the squad leader defeats a squad leader, then the position will be swapped. As for the commander position, you have to succeed in the challenge and the commander feels that you can do it in other aspects. Only then can you take up the position. If you don't have enough strategy and ability, then you can only be the deputy commander. The soldier on duty explained the rules of the Thunder Army. Night Sorrow understands. Although I can be an ordinary soldier, if I want to do more things, then I need a position. Night Sorrow will challenge now. Night Sorrow said as he followed Lai Kong closely behind him. Okay. Qin Leitang nodded. His impression of Night Sorrow had changed. He didn't hate him. Instead he admired him. Night Sorrow, only the position of a squad leader and above can leave the camp freely when you're not on duty. It's up to you. Princess Qing Wan said. Inform the massacre god's territory to gather at the challenge arena. Qin Leitang ordered the soldier on duty. Following a special bugle call, the massacre god's territory, one of the 4 territories of the Thunder Army, gathered. Zhu Xuanjia curled his lips. He was dissatisfied with Qin Leitang because the massacre god's territory was the strongest territory in the Thunder Army. Mengdan, we have a new member in the Thunder Army. He wants to challenge now. Arrange for the squad leaders to step forward. Qin Leitang said to the commander standing at the front of the massacre god's territory. First squad leaders, line up in front of the arena. Meng Dan shouted to the 1,000 people behind him. Following Meng Dan's command, 10 people stood in front of the arena. Night Sorrow, you can enter the arena now. Qin Leitang turned to look at Night Sorrow and said. If you can't pick a weak one, I can call out 10 squad leaders for you to choose from. Meng Dan looked at Night Sorrow and said with arrogance and contempt. There's no need. If you can do anything. If you can't, then there's no point in changing. Night Sorrow walked to the arena and pointed to the leftmost person among the 10. Massacre God's Territory's first squad leader Achio. Achio walked out. My name is Night Sorrow. Sorry for the offense. Night Sorrow cupped his fists at Achio. It's nothing. If you have the ability, my squad leader position is yours. Achio cupped his fists in return. Achio beat him up. Let him know that not just anyone can challenge the squad leaders of the Massacre God's Territory. The 1,000-man squad of the Massacre God's Territory roared. The 9 squad leaders standing below the arena also puffed up their cheeks. They wanted to laugh but they couldn't. Achio was the strongest among the squad leaders in the Massacre God's Territory. His strength was close to that of a squad leader. The Massacre God's Territory was the strongest in the Thunder Army, and the first squad was the strongest squad. Night Sorrow's expression didn't change. He knew that this was the army. They were united and ostracized outsiders. He was an outsider. Even if he wasn't a strong dragon, he had to challenge the local tyrant. Meng Dan waved his arm and everyone quieted down. Night Sorrow, the Thunder Army's challenge system is to stop when it's appropriate. However, sometimes when everyone's cultivation is similar, there will be serious injuries and deaths. Therefore, you have to be mentally prepared. If you can't take it, just admit defeat. Achio is a 1-star peak king. When he just became a 1-star king, he had the battle record of killing a 2-star king, Meng Dan said. He was a little annoyed with Night Sorrow, but he wasn't willing to bully a young man and cause him to fall. Thank you, Lord Commander, for your advice. Night Sorrow understands. Squad leader Achio, please enlighten me. Night Sorrow nodded at Meng Dan and cupped his fists at Achio. At this moment, the Green Phoenix Sovereign and the others also sat down on the chairs that the soldiers brought over to watch. Qin Leitang, just based on his calmness in the face of the pressure of 1,000 soldiers, you have profited greatly, Zhu Xuanjia said after sitting down. Qin Leitang nodded. At this moment he understood that Night Sorrow should have experienced a lot. Normal people would have been shocked. Then I won't be polite. A broadsword appeared in Achio's hand. His body flashed and rushed towards Night Sorrow. The broadsword was covered in flames. Night Sorrow restrained the energy of Split Sky and waved it to block. Their weapons clashed. Night Sorrow didn't move, but Achio retreated a few steps. Achio, who retreated, circled Night Sorrow and attacked rapidly. The flame energy sealed off the surroundings of Night Sorrow. After waving Split Sky to block 10 consecutive sword attacks, Night Sorrow swung his right hand. The energy in his body burst forth as he executed the space revolving dragon kill and rushed towards Achio. To defend against 10 moves, Night Sorrow did it out of respect for an old soldier. He didn't want Achio to lose too badly. Now it was time for him to make a move. The space revolving dragon kill supported by the will of space and the rules of space was extremely fast. Before Achio's broadsword could fully exert its energy, it was hit head-on. Chapter 11:15. After being hit by Night Sorrow's attack, Achio's expression changed drastically. Night Sorrow's attack was explosive, and it had a strong penetrating power. His arms had already lost all feeling from Night Sorrow's attack, and he could only use the power in his energy center to resist. If Night Sorrow's energy invaded his organs and energy center, then he would be in big trouble and he would lose immediately. While Achio was resisting, the energy in Night Sorrow's attack changed, and it turned into the power of time. He was caught off guard. Even if he was prepared, Achio might not be able to defend against it. His body was sent flying and he fell out of the arena. At this moment, the soldiers from the Massacre God's territory who were waving their weapons and cheering for Achio were all silent. The situation in the arena had changed too quickly. Thank you for saving me some face. I am not his opponent. This is not embarrassing. Achio shook his arms and bowed to Night Sorrow. Captain Achio, thank you for letting me win. Night Sorrow cupped his hands and cupped them to Achio. Good. You have won. You are now a captain. Achio, you don't have to change your position for the time being. I will make arrangements for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, do you still want a challenge? Qin Leiting looked at Night Sorrow and asked. He was very shocked inside his heart. Maybe the soldiers with low cultivation could not understand the situation in the arena, but the generals and commanders with high cultivation could naturally see it clearly. They started to defend continuously because Night Sorrow had saved Achio some face. The two of them were not on the same level at all. I still want a challenge. Night Sorrow nodded his head. Qin Leiting nodded his head at Meng Dan. Captain, step into the ranks. Captain, step forward in front of the arena. Meng Dan shouted at the people from the Massacre God's territory behind her. Bang, bang, bang. 10 captains dressed in black armor stood in front of the arena. Night Sorrow, you have no choice this time. The 10 captains of the Massacre God's territory are all here. Let's see who you choose, Meng Dan said. The only original edition, whose hashtag unspecified currency he is a thief, edition. I'm sorry, Night Sorrow didn't mean to offend you all, but today I want to fight for a better position. I will be a good soldier, and if I win, I believe I will be a good captain. Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards the 10 captains in front of the stage. This is the rule of the Qingwan army, we will all respect it. Standing on the left side of the stage, a man wearing black armor spoke. I'll leave it to you then, Night Sorrow said to the man who spoke. Are you sure you want to choose me? It's better to be cautious, the black-armored man said. The Qingwan army was the left and the right. Those who stood on the left were all people with high status and strength. As cultivators, no one would make a mistake. Therefore, the black-armored man asked. As an iron-blooded soldier, he didn't want Night Sorrow to make a mistake, so he emphasized it again. Night Sorrow nodded. He also knew that this black-armored man was the strongest and was already a 5-star king. He wanted to fight against this 5-star king. After joining the Qingwan army, one had to lead the soldiers. Prestige was very important. If one won unfairly, then no one would be convinced and it would be very difficult to lead the subordinates. Therefore, Night Sorrow chose Achio during the small captain challenge. Now he chose this black-armored man. Wuxia, go. Night Sorrow, if you win against Wuxia, then you will be the captain of the Massacre God's leader. No one will be unconvinced and this commander will also acknowledge you, Meng Dan said. Wuxia's feet shook and a halo shot out from under his feet. He then landed on the stage. You are a 2-star king. You have the courage to challenge me. Even if you lose, this captain will still acknowledge you. Thank you, Captain Wu Jiao, for your high regard. Please enlighten me. Night Sorrow's right hand spread out and nodded towards Wu Jia. He knew that this was a crucial battle. If he won, then he would have a firm foothold in the Massacre God's leader and the Qingwan army. Wu Jia waved his hand and pulled out the battle halberd on his back. It was also a long weapon. Take this. Wu Jia didn't waste any words, and his battle halberd chopped down towards Night Sorrow. Instead of chopping, it was more like smashing down. Wu Jia was an earth element intermediate king. His attack was powerful and dense. Night Sorrow's will of time and time law supported the space rend. He executed a time vibration wave and pierced towards Wu Jia's battle halberd. The two's weapons clashed and vibrating sounds could be heard. Visible ripples spread out in all directions. Even though Night Sorrow had time acceleration and time energy vibration, he was still forced back 2 steps by Wu Jia's battle halberd. Fall. Wu Jia roared and his arms exerted strength again, wanting to suppress Night Sorrow. Not necessarily. The time energy was exhausted, and Night Sorrow's bloodline talent erupted. The will of time and the will of space quickly switched, and the will of space supported the space revolving dragon kill was released. Night Sorrow's space revolving dragon kill landed on Wu Jia's battle halberd, and it was forced back. After breaking through Wu Jia's powerful attack, Night Sorrow's feet shook, and his body moved forward. The space rend continued to thrust forward, and the will and energy switched again. Wu Jia brandished his halberd, and their weapons clashed once more. However, Night Sorrow's moves were one after another. 2 types of energy, 3 types of energy connected seamlessly and once again repelled Wu Jia. This is a beast. Qin Leitang, you name your price. Give this person to me. Zhu Xuanjia said excitedly. Move aside, this is none of your business. Tang Hu. Zhu Xuanjia, if you don't want to waste any more time, send this guest off. Qin Leitang roared at a red-clothed man who was watching from the side. It was Tang Hu, the second commander of the Thunder Army. At this moment, almost all the soldiers of the Thunder Army had come to watch. Old Zhu stopped talking. He won't give it to you. Bai Jinting said with a smile. At this moment on the stage, Night Sorrow and Wu Jia were attacking each other. The battle was very intense. All the soldiers of the Thunder Army were watching. Night Sorrow's cultivation was a 2-star king, and almost everyone could see it. Some people couldn't see Wu Jia's cultivation, but they all knew that Wu Jia was a 5-star king. Now that a 2-star king and a 5-star king were fighting so intensely, many people couldn't understand what was going on. You are very strong, but this is not enough. You will be the first to run out of energy. Wu Jia roared. Wu Jia's words were reasonable and Night Sorrow understood it. Everyone understood it. Only by ending the battle quickly would Night Sorrow have a chance. If the battle continued, the loser would be Night Sorrow. This is enough to prove his strength. He has enough prestige to be a squad leader. If he didn't pick the strongest Wu Jia, he would have no problem being a squad leader. Lin Feiyu said. Not necessarily. Princess Qingwan looked at the stage and said softly. She had seen the power of Night Sorrow's 3 battle skills. The current Night Sorrow hadn't reached this level yet. While Princess Qingwan was speaking, Night Sorrow used his killer move. His bloodline talent burst forth and spatial rend was released. With the support of the will of space and space law, as well as the will of time, Night Sorrow's spatial rend was extremely fast. It instantly slashed towards Wu Jia. Wu Jia's expression changed. It was too late to dodge. He could only use the will of Earth to support the Earth energy and block the spatial rend. At this moment, Night Sorrow changed his direction. Spatial dragon kill blasted towards Wu Jia's side. Chapter 11:16. Wu Jia, who was using all his strength to block Night Sorrow's space rend, took out a shield with his left hand and defended with all his might. However, Night Sorrow's space revolving dragon slash was a spiral penetrating attack. Wu Jia could not block it at all and was sent flying. The moment Wu Jia was sent flying, Night Sorrow used soul destruction slash. The deep purple crescent blade slashed towards Wu Jia's head. At this moment all the monarchs and commanders were shocked. Soul attack techniques were very rare and almost impossible to find. Block. Wu Jia's soul power burst forth and blocked Night Sorrow's crescent blade in front of his head. While Wu Jia was using all his strength to block the crescent blade, Night Sorrow used Sky Rend. Not only was it supported by the will of time, but it was also supported by the will of space. Night Sorrow's Sky Rend seemed to pass through space and stopped in front of Wu Jia's throat. The battle ended. Night Sorrow kept the crescent blade. I lost. Wujia's expression was a little ugly. A 5-star king had used all his strength and lost to a 2-star king. He found it hard to accept. Sorry. Knight Sorrow took 2 steps back and bowed to Wuxia. It's nothing. Stand up where you fall. You will be the leader. I will submit. Wuxia cupped his hands to Knight Sorrow. He was sincerely convinced because if it was a life-and-death battle, his head would have fallen to the ground. Good, very good. Qin Leitang clapped his hands. Princess Qing Yuan nodded to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow was a 2-star king and won against a 5-star king. This made her feel very shocked. Although Wuxia had just become a 5-star king, Knight Sorrow's battle record was not bad even for a 4-star king. Knight Sorrow, do you still want to challenge? Before Qin Leitang could ask, Zhu Xuanjia asked. Chapter 4. Section 4 to challenge Captain Wuxia, Knight Sorrow has overestimated himself. I will not continue. Knight Sorrow bowed to Princess Qing Yuan and the other generals who were watching. Knight Sorrow, if you are the leader, do you have anything to say to your brothers? Qin Jinting asked Knight Sorrow after waving his hand to let Wuxia return to the team. Yes. Knight Sorrow nodded. Qin Leitang extended his right hand to Knight Sorrow, inviting Knight Sorrow to speak. Yishan turned around and looked at the people from Massacre God's territory and the other 3 territories. Looking at all of you, I thought of the brothers who fought alongside me. I don't know which team I will be assigned to and who I will fight alongside. I will not make any promises to anyone. I will not guarantee that all of my brothers will survive on the battlefield. If all of them survive, that is just a hope. Only the commander's orders can decide the outcome of the battle. However, I can promise that when I, Knight Sorrow, participate in the battle, when you charge, you will definitely see my figure. When you retreat, turn around and I will definitely be behind you. Knight Sorrow said. At this moment, Princess Qing Yuan stood up and took the lead to clap. The other generals also clapped. Soon after, Massacre Gods and the other 3 leaders also clapped. Knight Sorrow's words had infected their hearts. All soldiers needed such a comrade and leader. How is General Leitang? Princess Qing Yuan looked at Qin Leitang and asked. Very good. These are the soldiers our Leitang army needs. Mengdan Massacre Gods has a complete organization. Don't move them for the time being. You don't have an assistant now, so let Knight Sorrow work with you. I will leave him to you. Qin Leitang looked at Mengdan and said. Mengdan, you are brave but lacking in strategy. In the future, listen to Knight Sorrow's opinions more. In addition, Knight Sorrow will leave the Leitang army for a month to familiarize himself with the situation. A month later, he will take up a position in Massacre Gods and also the captain of your Majesty's guards. If there is a military order, he will be there. Princess Qing Yuan reminded Mengdan and also instructed Qin Leitang. We understand. Qin Leitang and Mengdan cupped their hands. Achio, bring Vice Commander Knight to rest. Generals and Massacre Gods captain will stay behind. The rest of you can disperse. Qin Leitang gave the order. At this moment, Zhu Xuanjia, Lin Feiyu, and Bai Jinting bowed to Princess Qing Yuan and left. The matter had already been settled. Even if they stayed behind, they would not be able to bring Knight Sorrow away. In the main tent of the Leitang army, Princess Qing Yuan's seat was in the middle. Qin Leitang's seat was slightly to the side. On the other side sat the generals and captains. Everyone has seen Knight Sorrow's strength and spirit. In the future he will be our brother. Do not reject him. Massacre God's captain cannot investigate his brother. Tang Hu, you bring people to investigate. I want to know everything about Knight Sorrow's past. What kind of abilities and specialties he has are the most important. Qin Leitang said to Tang Hu. No need. Your Majesty knows that you will do this. Therefore his information is here. He is someone that your Majesty brought back under the orders of my father. However, you all know that there is nothing special about the Qing Yuan army. He is just a normal vice commander. Qing Yuan threw a piece of information to Qin Leitang. Qin Leitang looked at it seriously. Because there were many pages of information, he saw all the records about Knight Sorrow. He knew that many of them were absolute secrets. He has commanded many battles and has also been a commander. Mengdan, you really need to learn from him. His ability and talent are not fake. You all should not touch this information. Qin Leitang returned the information to Princess Qing Yuan. Princess Qing Yuan waved her hand and the information turned into ashes. Commander and General, don't worry. Perhaps I originally rejected outsiders. However, he said it well. As long as we charge, he will definitely be at the front and retreat behind. Just based on this point, I admire him. Massacre God's captain needs such a brother. I wholeheartedly approve of him. If his cultivation increases again, I will have to give up my position as commander. Meng Dan stood up and said. His arrival will only bring benefits to Massacre God's captain. Princess Qing Wan said. After saying a few words, Princess Qing Wan left. Achio brought Knight Saro, Hong Yi, and Lan Ning to a tent. Deputy Commander, our Massacre God's captain level tent originally didn't have a deputy commander. Therefore, deputy commander can only rest here first. Later on, the brothers will settle it. Captain Achio is too polite. I didn't come to Qing Wan Legion to enjoy. I am very sorry about today's matter. Knight Saro nodded towards Hong Yi and Lan Ning. After letting the two of them pack up, he cupped his hands towards Achio. Deputy Commander, if you say so, it's meaningless. The Massacre God's leader is a true fighter. No one will care about such trivial matters. Today, Achio has broadened my horizons. I even have some understanding of the concept of battle. I have to thank Deputy Commander, Achio said with a smile. At night, Meng Dan brought the 10 captains of Massacre God's captain to Knight Saro's tent. Seeing them, Knight Saro cupped his hands and greeted them. Cultivation aside, these people were all hot-blooded men that needed to be respected. You might not be used to it. Slowly you will get used to it. In the future, everyone will live and die together. There won't be so much etiquette. Meng Dan said with a smile. Then Knight Saro won't be polite. It seems like Captain Wuxia is a person who likes to drink. So am I. Knight Saro looked at Wuxia, who was holding 2 wine jugs, and said, You too? Will it work? Wuxia placed the wine jugs on the table. His eyes were filled with doubt. Chapter 11:17. Of course. Commander Meng, can we drink in the military camp? Knight Saro looked at Meng Dan and asked. Yes. Even if you drink too much, you can just circulate your energy once the order is given. But when you drink, you cannot act shamelessly. You are not allowed to circulate your energy, Meng Dan said with a smile. That's good. I've gotten to know everyone today. Knight Saro is really happy. I will not say anything. Then let me toast to my brothers. Knight Saro cupped his hands towards Meng Dan and the others. Good. Come, go to the warehouse of the 1st Brigade and get more wine. Bring more wine. Wu Jia shouted at the patrolling soldiers in the distance. He patted the wine jugs and said, I brought wine today because I felt that you all would drink tea. That would be boring. So this wine is for myself. The soldiers were very fierce. A group of patrolling soldiers directly brought over 20 jugs of wine. Knight Saro, this commander really admires you. We cannot simply ask about your matters, but the commander said that you have commanded battles before. He wants to learn from you. Later on, this commander wants to ask you for advice. After drinking a few bowls of wine, Meng Dan said, If I say that the battles I experienced in the past were small skirmishes, that would be disrespectful to my former brothers. But the low-level world cannot be compared to the supreme world. Knight Saro still wants to learn from all of you, Knight Saro said. Your words are honest. I Wu Jia like it. Wu Jia took his wine bowl and raised it towards Knight Saro. As they drank, everyone became more casual. Meng Dan and the 10 captains also knew what to ask and what not to ask. After drinking for 4 hours, Meng Dan brought Wu Jia and the other captains who were drunk and dizzy and left. Although they all caught Knight Saro and forced him to drink, they were all dizzy. Knight Saro was still fine. Knight Saro's willpower and time attribute had entered the king's realm. His body had changed and his body was almost filled with crystals. How could he get drunk when he drank? This guy is too much of a beast. He's strong and his alcohol tolerance is also ridiculously high. Wu Jia, you're no match for him, said Kuan Ji, the captain of the 2nd platoon. Knight Saro is indeed not using his energy, but you guys don't know this. His body is tyrannical, and the strength of his weapon is astonishing. Naturally, his alcohol tolerance is high. It's impossible to make him drunk. Black Jia's tongue was a little big. The next day, when Knight Saro was practicing as usual, Meng Dan came. You sure are hardworking. Let's go. Let's move to another place. Last night, this commander arranged a new tent for you. Your subordinates will also have a place to stay, Meng Dan said to Knight Saro. Thank you, Commander. Knight Saro cupped his hands. You're still so polite. In our massacring God's territory, when there's no war, we're all brothers. We drink and chat casually. When there's a war, we just have to abide by the war orders. Like now, you can call me Big Brother Meng. Meng Dan said with a smile. Soon after, Meng Dan brought Knight Saro to a new big tent. It was made from the skin of an unknown demonic beast that Night Sorrow didn't know. On both sides of the big tent there were smaller tents. Those were the accommodations for his subordinates. After arranging for Night Sorrow's accommodations, Meng Dan brought Night Sorrow to the soldiers' training ground and watched everyone cultivate. After going to war, no one knows if they can come back alive. Therefore, it's especially important to cultivate diligently. Usually, the captains, platoon leaders, and commanders will give some pointers to the soldiers. Some martial arts that aren't restricted by the sect will also be imparted. If it's convenient, you can also give some pointers. Meng Dan said to Night Sorrow. I will. Night Sorrow nodded. In the following days, Night Sorrow familiarized himself with the members of the Massacring Gods territory. If not, he would soak in the training ground and cultivate with everyone. Night Sorrow wasn't stingy in giving pointers. Gradually, Night Sorrow became familiar with everyone. Meng Dan was very happy with this situation. What he was most worried about was that Night Sorrow was young. Coupled with his strength, he wouldn't fit in with the group. Being young and hot-headed was a common problem for many cultivators. Night Sorrow was a little over 100 years old. In the world of cultivators he was too young. Qin Leitang also frequently looked for Meng Dan to understand the situation. Sometimes he would also take the initiative to tell Night Sorrow some of the history of the Thunderbolt Army. This helped Night Sorrow integrate into the Thunderbolt Army. Meng Dan and the rest didn't know about Night Sorrow's situation. However, Qin Leitang was clear about the importance of Night Sorrow to the Green Phoenix Army and to the Qing Emperor's empire. He also admired this kind of determined and ambitious young man. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Night Sorrow knew that he might have to leave and report to the Green Phoenix Princess residence. He reckoned that he wouldn't be able to push away that guard captain. Before leaving, Night Sorrow planned to do something for the brothers of the Massacring Gods territory. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow drew out the joint attack formation diagram. Since he was the deputy commander, he had to fulfill his responsibility. After drawing the formation diagram, Night Sorrow found Meng Dan and explained the joint attack formation diagram to him. Very good, very exquisite. Our Massacring Gods territory's battle formation is a ring-shaped battle formation, a triangular battle formation. Compared to your joint attack formation, it seems too crude. Meng Dan excitedly patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. I might have to go to the princess residence to be the guard captain. I will try to push this off. I reckon that it will be hard to push it off. I can't stay here for a long time. I can't do much for the brothers. Night Sorrow said. I also hope that brother will always be here. However, the commander's words are battle orders. We must obey. If you have time, come over. Big brother's tent is here. My home is below the heaven's edge. Many of our Green Phoenix Army's generals have their homes below the heaven's edge. Big brother will also help you arrange a private residence later. Meng Dan knew that Night Sorrow was going to be the guard captain of the Green Phoenix Princess Guards. That day in the commander's tent, Green Phoenix Princess had already mentioned it. He also knew that this was a rare opportunity for many people. However, Night Sorrow really wasn't willing to do it. Original first post Night Sorrow's prediction was very accurate. After a month, Zhuo Tingyun came. He was under Green Phoenix Princess orders to let Night Sorrow take up a post in the Green Phoenix Princess residence. After bidding farewell to the Thunder Commander, Meng Dan, Wu Jia, and the others, Night Sorrow brought Hong Yi and Lan Ning back to the Green Phoenix residence with Zhuo Tingyun. After letting Hong Yi and Lan Ning rest, Zhuo Tingyun brought Night Sorrow to the main hall of the Green Phoenix Palace to meet Green Phoenix Princess. How was your month in the Thunder Army? Sitting on the main seat, Green Phoenix Princess, who was meditating, opened her eyes. Very good. The brothers and the Massacre God's leader are very easy to get along with. The guard captain of Her Highness the Princess is too important. I'm afraid I'm not up to the task. Night Sorrow cupped his hands and said, You idiot. The vice commander of the Thunder Army is very good. However, how can it be compared to the guard captain of Her Highness the Princess? Not to mention the difference in freedom, the guard captain can do a lot of things without anyone asking. Do you understand? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Zhuo Tingyun blew his beard and glared at him. That's right. You need to cultivate. You have a world behind you. Therefore, a lot of things require time. Your post in my princess residence is indeed more casual. Green Phoenix Princess said. Chapter 11:18. Thank you, Your Highness. Night Sorrow understood Princess Qing Wan's intention at this time. She wanted to give him more space. This command token is the same as the Thunder Army's command token. When it lights up, it means that your majesty is looking for you. This command token is also the command token of Qing Yuan Palace's guard captain. It will be more convenient for you to move around the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Also, if you have any problems in the 9 regions world that you can't solve, you can come find your majesty at any time. Princess Qing Yuan handed a command token to Knight Sorrow and said. Before leaving the Massacre God's domain, Qin Leitang gave Knight Sorrow a command token. When the Thunder Army gathered, the command token would vibrate and light up. The command tokens were all made with special methods. There was a mother-child formation inside. Knight Sorrow understands. Knight Sorrow nodded towards Princess Qing Yuan. Bai Ling, bring Knight Sorrow to his residence. Then bring your majesty's personal guards to meet with Knight Sorrow. Princess Qing Yuan said to her maid Bai Ling. Bai Ling bowed towards Princess Qing Yuan and brought Knight Sorrow to a small standalone building on the left side of Qing Yuan Palace. The size of the standalone building was about the same as Knight Sorrow's residence in the city in the sky. There were artificial mountains and lakes in the small building. The scenery was very beautiful. This is the residence Her Highness arranged for you. When you are not in the barracks, you can stay here. When the barracks summons you, you can directly take the princess residence's teleportation array. It is also more convenient. I will bring the guards over. You two can meet first. Bai Ling brought Knight Sorrow to this residence and left. Leisure residence, this small building's name is not bad. Young master, I have always been worried about a problem. That is, how long will we serve the Qing Emperor's dynasty? It can't be a lifetime, right? Lanning said. She had always wanted to ask this question. However, it was not suitable to talk about it in the barracks. No, in the Qing Emperor's dynasty's army, the service time is 1,000 years. In other words, after 1,000 years, you can propose to retire. The divine Xiao monarch mentioned this before. He was like this in the Green Scale army. He served for 3,000 years. 1,000 years was because he made a promise with the Green Scale crown prince. The other 2,000 years of military service in exchange for some cultivation resources. Knight said. That's good. If we are lucky, there won't be any wars for 1,000 years. Red smiled. Merit can be exchanged for resources. And resources can be exchanged for resources. And can exchange merit can be exchanged. And merit can be exchanged. To merit can be used. Yishang understood some things. The Azure Supreme, the Arch Dynasty, had a vast territory and had the same top-notch forces on 3 sides. The 2 sides often had wars. One side was the Red Emperor's country. The other side was the Dark Abyss. The Dark Abyss was different from the other top forces in the world of reincarnation. They were all creatures of darkness. It was similar to when Knight Sorrow was in the Eastern Shen domain. However, the master of the Dark Abyss was very domineering. He was called the Death Dominator. He comprehended the death attribute and death will. He was one of the top forces in the world of reincarnation. He was on the same level as the Qing Emperor and the Red Emperor. The Red Emperor's country and the Qing Emperor's dynasty were the same. They were very powerful and had many subordinate worlds. This kind of power dispute caused many wars. It was also very cruel. However, because they restrained each other, the Qing Emperor, the Red Emperor, and the Dark Dominator, such as the Sky Dominator, would not ask about the development of the forces under their command. They would not ask about it unless it threatened the life and death of their own forces. The monarch would not easily participate in the war, which made the situation more stable. That is to say, after 1,000 years we will have freedom. We can freely choose to withdraw or continue to serve. But in this way, will the Qing Emperor's dynasty continue to protect the 9 Heavens World Group? Red asked. Normally it won't. If we have great contributions to the Qing Emperor's dynasty, then it's another matter. It mainly depends on whether our 9 Heavens World Group has the ability to protect ourselves. Knight Sorrow said with a smile. You came to serve the Qing Emperor's dynasty because you don't want the 9 Heavens World Group to suffer because of you. The trouble you caused, you have to bear it. The development of the 9 Heavens World Group has nothing to do with you. Red said. And we'll talk about it when the time comes. Knight Sorrow exhaled and said. At this time, Bai Ling brought Qing Yuan's personal attendants. They were Iron 1 to Iron 4 and Silver 1 to Silver 4. Princess Qing Yuan had many guards under her command. It could even be said that the 2 guards at the entrance of Qing Yuan Palace were at the peak of the intermediate king. Bai Ling brought Princess Qing Yuan's personal guard when she went out. Knight Sorrow was actually the captain of the personal guard. The only genuine, for he's a thief. Version Knight Sorrow politely invited them to sit down and drink tea. My guard captain is actually just a title. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. When the time comes, I'll have to ask brothers and sisters for guidance. Captain, you're too polite. You're now the vice commander of the most elite army in the Green Phoenix Army. We all know and admire you. We all live around here. If there's anything, Captain can just call us. Silver One said. Iron One also nodded. They were the small leaders of the male and female personal guard teams. If they recognized Knight Sorrow, it was equivalent to the entire personal guard recognizing him. Okay, I'll live here when I have nothing to do. Everyone can come over when you're free and talk about cultivation and battle. We can all improve together. Knight Sorrow said. Silver One and Iron One stood up and brought the few people beside them to bow to Knight Sorrow. They were originally worried that an overbearing boss would appear, but Knight Sorrow's attitude made them feel a lot more at ease. After the personal guard left, Hong Yi and Lan Ying tidied up their living quarters. The main pavilion was naturally where Knight Sorrow rested and cultivated. They lived on both sides. After calming down, Knight Sorrow refined pills when he had nothing to do. He refined another batch of yin spirit pills. After refining, Knight Sorrow gave Lan Ying a batch of pills. Take them back to Aunt Fei. Also tell North Star to come over. I want to help her upgrade her weapons and armor. Knight Sorrow kept his promise in his heart. If he didn't solve it, he would feel pressured. Lan Ying took the pills and Knight Sorrow's guard leader token and left. The price of using the teleportation array was very high. Normal cultivators wouldn't be able to afford it. It was measured in Saint Spirit stones. However, Knight Sorrow was rich now and had already given it to Hong Yi and Lan Ying. When Knight Sorrow calmed down, Princess Qing Wan and Zhuo Tingyun arrived at the Qing Wan Army's Thunder Corps camp. Greetings, Commander. Qin Leitang, Meng Dan and Tang Hu bowed. What are you guys arguing about? Princess Qing Wan heard the argument before she even reached the tent. Commander, it's like this. Knight Sorrow gave Massacre God Leader some combination array diagrams. Tang Hu wanted it but Meng Dan didn't give it to him. Now he's confused. Qin Leitang said. Chapter 11-19. How is the effect of the joint attack formation? Princess Qing Wan asked. The effect is very strong. It is much stronger than the ring-shaped battle formation and the triangular battle formation, Qin Leitang said. The joint attack formation in our Qing Emperor's dynasty, only the Qing Emperor's army has it. That was researched by my father. The other armies, even the Green Qilan army, do not have it. Bring your majesty to take a look, Princess Qing Wan said. Qin Leitang and the others brought Princess Qing Wan to the training grounds of the Massacre God's territory and watched the soldiers train. At this moment, the soldiers of the Massacre God's territory were training in pairs. It was a sparring match between the soldiers and the captains. The soldiers used the joint attack formation. Although their cultivation was not high enough, they could still fight against the leaders who had higher cultivation than them. 3 to 6 people joined attack, very good. After watching for a while, Princess Qing Wan returned to the large tent of the Thunder Army. Commander, I feel that since it is a method to increase one's strength, we should let the brothers master it. Tang Hu bowed towards Princess Qing Wan. Tang Hu, it is right for you to think about the brothers under you, but the crux of the problem is that Knight Sorrow is the deputy commander of the Massacre God's territory. He only needs to be responsible for the soldiers of the Massacre God's territory. If everyone wants it, the commanders of the Imperial Army and the Black Armored Army all want it. Wouldn't that be a mess? Princess Qing Wan looked at Tang Hu and said, I think so too. The soldiers of the Massacring God's territory are lucky to be able to learn this joint attack formation. They are lucky to have Yi Shang as their vice commander. The others can't ask for anything. Of course, they are all soldiers of the Thunder Army. Qin Leitang voiced his opinion. Let's not talk about this matter anymore. Don't make things difficult for Knight Sorrow. Princess Qing Wan made a decision. Tang Hu could only nod his head. In the Qing Wan army, Princess Qing Wan's words were the highest order. After that, Princess Qing Wan and Zhuo Tingyun went to the training grounds to take a look. With this joint attack formation, the battle strength of the Massacre God's territory will increase by a lot. Zhuo Tingyun nodded his head as he looked. Meng Dan, tell the Massacre God's territory soldiers that this joint attack formation cannot be leaked. If anyone leaks it, they will be executed without mercy. Princess Qing Wan gave the military order to Meng Dan, who was following behind her. Yes. Meng Dan bowed and said, After that, Princess Qing Wan and Zhuo Tingyun left the Thunder Army. After Princess Qing Wan returned to Qing Wan Palace, she was stunned for a moment. Then she quickly walked into Qing Wan Palace's main hall and bowed. Qing Wan greets Imperial Father. Why has Imperial Father come to daughter's place? What's wrong? Can't Imperial Father come and see you? Where have you been? Qing Emperor sat at the head of the table and said while drinking tea. I just went to the Qing Wan army's encampment to deal with some matters. Qing Wan bowed and said, sit down and talk. What happened in the military camp? Qing Emperor looked at Qing Wan and asked. It's Night Sorrow. He taught the Massacre God's territory soldiers the joint attack formation. The commanders of the other territories also want it and have already dealt with it. Oh right, I haven't told Imperial Father yet. Night Sorrow relied on his own ability to become a vice commander. Qing Wan sat down and said with a smile. Vice commander. Imperial Father remembers that the lowest commander in Qing Wan army is an intermediate king, right? Can he be a vice commander? Qing Emperor stroked his beard and asked. Qing Wan army is in the Qing Wan army. The Qing Wan army uses a challenge system. Father knows this. After he challenged the strongest team leader in the Qing Wan army, he challenged the strongest team leader. That team leader was a 5-star sovereign, but he was defeated by him. Therefore, I made him the deputy commander. He has commanded the War of the Realms before, so he has no problem with his intelligence. The deputy commander position is suitable for him. Qing Wan reported Yi Shan's situation to the Qing Emperor. Interesting, a bit interesting. You make the arrangements. This person is very important to our Qing Emperor's dynasty. We must make the best use of him and not neglect his cultivation. Alright, just pretend that Imperial Father never came. Qing Emperor stood up and left Qing Wan Palace's main hall. Night Sorrow was in the small courtyard in front of Leisure House. He waved Sky Splitter and cultivated his battle skills. Right now, his energy and willpower were restrained, constantly releasing the battle skills he had grasped. After leaving Qing Wan Palace's main hall, Qing Emperor waved his hand. After the golden crown on his head turned into a purple crown, he walked to the side of Leisure House's small courtyard with his hands behind his back and watched Night Sorrow cultivate his battle skills. Because he was too engrossed in his cultivation, Night Sorrow didn't notice Qing Emperor's arrival. Only when Hong Yi, who made tea, coughed did Night Sorrow wake up from his concentration. Seeing Qing Emperor, Night Sorrow cupped his hands and slightly bowed. Night Sorrow greets Elder. Young man, you're not bad. It's already hard to grasp a few types of force exertion techniques, and it's even harder to combine them. If you can combine the time attribute and the space attribute, that would be even more impressive. Actually, the compatibility between the time attribute and the space attribute is a leap. The space attribute is a leap for space and the time attribute is a leap for time. You can try to use the two attributes to support each other. The time attribute supports the space attribute, and the space attribute supports the time attribute. Supporting each other will speed up the compatibility of the two attributes. Qing Emperor said. Night Sorrow thanks Elder for your guidance. Night Sorrow bowed again. The key is that it's helpful to you. Qing Emperor said with a smile. Come, Elder, have a seat. Have a cup of tea. Night Sorrow invited Qing Emperor to sit down, and then poured a cup of tea for Qing Emperor. Not bad. You're quite experienced in making tea. Qing Emperor took a sip of tea and said. I'm not used to walking around. I've never seen Elder in Qing Wan Palace. Night Sorrow filled Qing Emperor's teacup again and said. Like you, I like peace and quiet. I don't usually go out. Today I'm thinking of moving around. Qing Emperor sized up Night Sorrow. After drinking 2 cups of tea, Qing Emperor stood up and was about to leave. I'm an outsider in Qing Wan Palace. I don't know anyone or have any friends. If Elder has time, please come and visit. Night Sorrow stood up and said. Okay. Qing Emperor nodded. After leaving Leisure House, his body flickered and disappeared. In Qing Emperor's palace, Qing Emperor and Shen Daozi were playing chess, but then they shook their heads. Your Majesty, your state of mind is unstable. Is something wrong? Shen Daozi asked. I suddenly want to take in a disciple, but I haven't thought of how to deal with it yet. Qing Emperor put down the game in his hand and said. Chapter B plus Section 1, that's a good thing. Your Majesty has only taught Qing Lin, Qing Wan, and a few other princes for so many years. You can take in a disciple to relax your state of mind. Shen Daozi said. His hands were shaking. Big deal. This was a big deal for Qing Emperor's dynasty. Qing Emperor's disciple had a very high status in Qing Emperor's dynasty. His Majesty was equivalent to a prince or princess. A disciple was half a prince. But I'm worried that I won't be able to teach him. That child controls the dual elements of space and time. I've dabbled in space but not time, Qing Emperor said. Night Sorrow? Perhaps you can't teach him time, but isn't your mastery in other areas what he needs? Fourth Watch. Chapter 11:20. I need to think about this carefully. It's very important to both him and me. The Qing Emperor shook his head. He admired Night Sorrow, but he didn't want to affect his development because Night Sorrow was doing very well. It is indeed very important, but a disciple with potential is not easy to find. The Red Emperor and the Dark Dominator both have excellent disciples, said Xian Daozi. Xian Daozi was the Qing Emperor's imperial divination master, and he was also a good friend of the Qing Emperor. He could say things that others didn't dare to say. Indeed, this emperor is inferior to them in this aspect. Sandalwood was not bad back then, but her state of mind was not good enough. One's state of mind and temperament have a great impact on a cultivator's final achievements. The Dark Dominator cultivates the Tao of Death, and it's enough for him to take in a disciple with a ruthless temperament. The Crimson Emperor is the same. It's easier for them to take in disciples, but it's harder for this emperor, who cultivates the Tao of Gentlemen, to take in disciples. Ah, you understand, Your Majesty, said Xian Daozi with a smile. I know some things. I have so many princes but none of them can stand out. Isn't that strange? Qing Yuan knows that he can't suppress him and he doesn't dare to. The Qing Emperor shook his head. There were some things he didn't want to say. The Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty needed a strong crown prince. Xian Daozi didn't say anything else. The Qing Emperor was a smart person. Although he didn't ask much about the imperial dynasty, he knew everything. Night Sorrow is still rising. If I take Night Sorrow as a disciple, Qing Lin and the other princes will definitely suppress him. It's not good for his growth. I can't beat Qing Lin. After all, he's my crown prince. Let's wait. The Qing Emperor made his decision. Night Sorrow's life was very stable. He went to the Massacre God territory and nothing happened. He returned to the leisure house. Lan Ning brought Bei Xing to the leisure house. Night Sorrow, although we haven't been apart for long, it feels like we haven't seen each other for a long time, Northstar said with a smile as he looked at Night Sorrow. I think you want your king's weapon. Come on. I happen to have some time, so I'll help you. Night Sorrow extended his hand to Northstar. All right. After Lan Ning told me, I brought the materials. Northstar took out the long sword and gave it to Night Sorrow, and handed a storage ring to Night Sorrow. Taking out the crafting furnace, Night Sorrow knocked on it and began to upgrade the Northstar's Clear Moon Sword. In order for a Saint Ruler artifact to be upgraded to a King artifact, the first requirement was the materials, then the level of the spirit array inside the sword. The level of the spirit array was also the most important. For Original Edition. After entering the King's realm and increasing his soul power, Night Sorrow's clone in the Heaven Sealing Hall had been studying the spirit array, and his understanding of the spirit array was getting deeper and deeper. When Night Sorrow was upgrading Northstar's Clear Moon Sword, the Qing Emperor came in wearing a plain robe. Night Sorrow asked Hong Yi to serve him tea. After apologizing, he continued to refine the Clear Moon Sword. It took Night Sorrow a few days to upgrade all the materials and spirit array inside the Clear Moon Sword. After signing, Night Sorrow waved the Clear Moon Sword and handed it to Northstar. King's artifact, ha. Thank you, Night Sorrow, Northstar said happily as he held the Clear Moon Sword. I promised you that I could refine a king's artifact, so I will definitely help you upgrade your weapon and armor. Maybe you won't be able to use the full power of the Clear Moon Sword now, but you will in the future, Night Sorrow smiled. Then Night Sorrow bowed to the Qing Emperor and said, I'm sorry for neglecting you, Elder. It's nothing. Actually, there's another way to make weapons and armor. You're using the 1000 Hammer 100 refinement technique. Have you ever thought of trying the 1000 Hammer 100 refinement technique? Inscribe some spirit arrays with each stack. When you hammer again, be careful not to damage the spirit arrays. This way, after the 1000 Hammer 100 refinement technique, the weapon or armor will be able to incorporate more spirit arrays. The space for the spirit arrays will also be larger, the Qing Emperor said as he looked at the Clear Moon Sword in Northstar's hand. Taking a deep breath, Night Sorrow bowed deeply to the Qing Emperor and said, Thank you, Elder, for teaching me. It's good that it's useful to you. Actually, cultivation, alchemy, and weapon forging are not the same path. Many times, cultivators often have a flaw and misconception, which is that they walk the same path until the end. This way they might be able to walk to the extreme, but if they go too far, it will be a vertical thinking. In the future, try to think horizontally. Having an additional path to choose from may allow you to walk further, the Qing Emperor said as he looked at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow fell into deep thought because the Qing Emperor's words had given him a lot of inspiration. Looking at the pondering Night Sorrow, the Qing Emperor smiled and left. He was very happy that he had given Night Sorrow some inspiration. After a while, Night Sorrow woke up from his deep thoughts and asked, "Where's that elder?" He left. Night Sorrow, who is this expert? North Star asked. I don't know. Maybe he's an expert in the Qing Yuan Palace. How can there be no experts around Princess Qing Yuan? His insights and thoughts are very terrifying. His words are very simple, but they are the truth. With his guidance, I'll be able to take fewer detours, Night Sorrow said. You're lucky. In fact, many experts will be interested in teaching you when they see someone like you. This is also karma. Because when you grow up, you'll remember the kindness of teaching you. This is karma, North Star said. But they don't necessarily want to repay you. This is called love, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then Night Sorrow helped North Star upgrade the armor again. After listening to the Qing Emperor's guidance, Night Sorrow's forging became much easier. It was also much easier because the space for carving and embedding formations had increased by a lot. After a few days, Night Sorrow also finished upgrading North Star's armor. North Star was very happy. In fact, Night Sorrow was also very happy because the Qing Emperor's guidance was very good. After North Star's matter was finished, Night Sorrow asked Lan Ying to send him back. He continued to study battle techniques. On this day when Night Sorrow was practicing battle techniques, the Qing Emperor came. I haven't seen Elder for a few days. Night Sorrow misses Elder very much. I'm very grateful for Elder's guidance. How can I thank Elder? What? Good wine. Night Sorrow smiled and greeted the Qing Emperor. Good. Let's drink. I haven't done this in a long time. Bring out the good wine. The Qing Emperor sat down and waved his hand. It's a bit awkward. I think this wine is good because it's from my hometown. It's brewed by my wife. I don't think Elder will like it. Night Sorrow said embarrassedly. He knew that the elder in front of him was unfathomable. He must have a very high position in the Qing Yuan Palace. He must have drunk all kinds of good wine. Bring it out. I'm not picky. Let's drink. The quality of the wine isn't that important. The mood is the key. The Qing Emperor raised his chin at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow stood up and brought out 2 jars of azure blood wine. He then opened the jars and pushed them in front of the Qing Emperor. Pouring a bowl of wine, the Qing Emperor drank it in one gulp. You're talking nonsense. This wine is very good. Although it's not as delicate, it has a bit of wildness. Fine brewed wine is like a puddle of clear water. Your wine is like the wind. It has a wildness that Qing Emperor's imperial wine doesn't have. As long as Elder likes it. Night Sorrow thanks Elder for teaching me. Night Sorrow stood up and bowed to the Qing Emperor. Chapter 11:21. It's good that you can understand. Sometimes pointers are like playing the lute to a cow. You can understand everything. That's the point of pointers. The Qing Emperor shook his head. After drinking 2 jars of wine with Night Sorrow, the Qing Emperor left. After returning to the Qing Emperor's palace, Xian Daozi poured a cup of tea for the Qing Emperor. Your Majesty, you drank? That's strange. I'm happy. I'm really happy. I've decided to find an opportunity to take him in as a disciple. The Qing Emperor took a sip of tea. Does he have a good temper? Xian Daozi asked. He has a good personality. At such a young age, he's already accomplished things that ordinary people can't. However, he's not impetuous at all. Cultivating the way of a gentleman requires a magnanimous spirit, breadth of mind, and personality. He has all of that. The Qing Emperor gave his evaluation of Night Sorrow. Then we'll find a time to do it, Xian Daozi said with a smile. No, this needs to be properly arranged. If I only take in one disciple, he'll become a target for others. I'll announce later that I'm taking in a disciple and set up a few thresholds. Those who pass will become nominal disciples. After passing a few more tests, they'll become my legacy disciple. The Qing Emperor stroked his beard. All right. I'll pretend I don't know anything about this, Xian Daozi said with a smile. The Qing Emperor looked at Xian Daozi and said, Then I'll leave it to you. Set up the thresholds. Oh, and go find out about Night Sorrow's situation. If you make a mistake, don't worry, Your Majesty. I'll take care of this properly. The thresholds will block everyone but not him. Yes, they'll block everyone, Xian Daozi said, bowing. He knew that the Qing Emperor was serious, so he had to do this properly. Otherwise, the Qing Emperor wouldn't give face to his old friend. There's no need to be too deliberate. Taking in a few nominal disciples isn't a big deal. Consider it a good karma, the Qing Emperor said. Good karma. If His Majesty's novitiate disciple is successful, then this is Night Sorrow's good karma and good karma. Everything really is predestined. Xian Daozi chuckled and left. Could it be that this guy can really gather luck Dao? Qing Emperor tapped his fingers on the table and fell into deep thought. He knew that if it weren't for the appearance of Night Sorrow, he wouldn't have the idea of accepting disciples. He planned to accept a few nominal disciples because of Night Sorrow's influence. Then a huge news spread throughout the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Even the world of reincarnation got the news. The Qing Emperor wanted to take in disciples. However, the threshold was very high. First of all, one's cultivation had to be at least king's, and one's age had to be less than 1,000 years old. Next, one had to be a heavenly adept artificer. These three requirements made many people feel bitter. If one didn't meet the requirements, it would be very difficult to become a king within 1,000 years old. There were many geniuses in the world of reincarnation, and some of them could meet the requirements. However, the Qing Emperor's requirement was not to become a king within 1,000 years old, but to become a heavenly adept artificer within 1,000 years old. Not to mention this, it was even more difficult. In addition, there were only 10 places. No matter how many people there were, the Qing Emperor would only choose 10 people based on merit. If there were less than 10 people who signed up, then all of them would stay. If there were more than 10 people, then there would be a cruel selection. Night Sorrow also got the news, which made him very shocked. Night Sorrow, this requirement is not a problem for you, right? Red Coat said excitedly. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, this requirement is very suitable for me. I also want to, but I have to tell my master that I want to join another sect. I have to ask for the permission of my master and the elders of the Medicine Valley. You're thinking too much. In the cultivation world, many people have different masters. You're not betraying the sect, Lanning said. I know, but it's still appropriate to report to my master. Night Sorrow shook his head. He knew that Lanning was telling the truth, but it would be disrespectful if he did not tell Yu Yangyu. That's fine too. With the realm teleportation formation, it's convenient for you to travel back and forth. Red Coat knew that it was very difficult to change Night Sorrow's mind. At this moment in the Qing Yuan Palace's main hall, Princess Qing Yuan was twirling a teacup in her hand. Zhuo Tingyun stood aside and said, Princess, this matter will have a great impact on the Qing Emperor's dynasty. It could even change the situation. That's right. In my father's eyes, there's no difference between a disciple and a child. There are some things that I haven't seen, but I know that back then, senior brother Sandalwood's position in the Qing Emperor's dynasty was far above all the other princes. Therefore, as long as the disciple's character and talent are passable, then it's hard to say what position he will have in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Princess Qing Yuan said. Zhuo Tingyun nodded. He was very clear about some things. Sandalwood back then was an example. Actually, my father might be taking in a disciple because of someone, Princess Qing Yuan said. Princess Qing Yuan had a high position in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. This was related to the fact that she was loved by the Qing Emperor, but it was also related to her own abilities. After thinking about it, Princess Qing Yuan had some ideas. Because last time she felt that the Qing Emperor was interested in Night Sorrow. Princess, just pretend that you don't know about this. His Majesty is a smart person. No one can go against his will. His will is the will of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Zhuo Tingyun said. Your Majesty understands. This is not a bad thing. Maybe he cares about the crown prince and the other princes. Princess Qing Yuan interlocked her fingers and stretched her waist. That was the truth. Qing Lin was also touched. Because once the Qing Emperor took in a disciple, it would be a big deal. Back then, when Sandalwood was still around, he was suppressed. After Sandalwood went crazy, he appeared and gradually rose to the top. After Night Sorrow greeted Princess Qing Yuan, he took the teleportation array and returned to the Sky Profound World. Then he went to the Tianding Gate and arrived at Danding Peak. Seeing Night Sorrow return, Yu Yangyu and the others were very happy. This was because they had not seen Night Sorrow for a while. They also knew about Night Sorrow's situation from the Tianding King. They knew that Night Sorrow went to the world of Samsara for the 9 Firmament World Group. Master, it's like this. The Qing Emperor of the world of Samsara is taking in a disciple. I want to take a look. Night Sorrow said to Yu Yangyu. This you can do as you see fit. If you want to have high achievements, then you need the guidance of a great teacher. As your master, I really did not fulfill my responsibility. I can't block your path. Work hard. Yu Yangyu nodded to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow will always be Master's disciple. I will always be the disciple of the Medicine Valley. Night Sorrow bowed to Yu Yangyu, Hua Yunpeng and the others. Only one original one of them. He was all pirated. However, Hua Yunpeng and the Great Elder avoided it. Other than Yu Yangyu, they did not have the qualifications to receive Night Sorrow's bow. He did not stay in the mysterious sky world, nor did he go to Chie City. Night Sorrow returned to the Qing Yuan Palace. He was now waiting for the registration date. On this day, when Yi Shang finished cultivating the azure, the arch arrived. Night Sorrow poured a cup of tea for the Qing Emperor. Qing Emperor is taking in a disciple. Don't you have any thoughts? The Qing Emperor looked at Night Sorrow and said, Yes, in fact, I really want to get guidance from the elders. Night Sorrow looked at the Qing Emperor and said, The Qing Emperor had guided him twice. Night Sorrow really benefited a lot. You won't be disappointed. Chapter 11:22. You won't be disappointed. Qing Emperor nodded towards Night Sorrow and then left Leisure House. Qing Emperor told Night Sorrow that he wouldn't be disappointed. In fact, he wasn't disappointed in his heart either. The main reason was because of Night Sorrow's attitude. Qing Emperor understood that Night Sorrow knew that as long as he participated in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment, he would at least be a nominal disciple. However, Night Sorrow was still very respectful towards him. He even said that as long as he asked, Night Sorrow would accept his guidance. He even said that he wouldn't participate in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment ceremony. Night Sorrow was a bit disappointed. He really hoped that Qing Emperor would be willing to continue guiding him. That way he could give up on participating in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment ceremony. Soon after, under Hong Yi's reminder, Night Sorrow went to Qing Emperor's palace to sign up and participate in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment ceremony. After signing up, Night Sorrow stayed in Massacre God's territory for a few more days to observe the soldiers' cultivation. Now, Night Sorrow wasn't only recognized by the large captains and captains, the ordinary soldiers also recognized Night Sorrow. Everyone's combat ability increased by a lot. What did this mean? It meant that after entering the battlefield, their chances of survival increased by a lot. After staying in Massacre God's territory for a few more days, Night Sorrow greeted Qin Leitang and Meng Dan before returning to Qing Yuan Palace. General Vice Commander Knight is a bit over 100 years old. His cultivation is a 2-star king. I don't know if he is a weapon refiner. If he is, then he can definitely participate in His Majesty's disciple recruitment ceremony. Meng Dan looked at Night Sorrow's figure leaving through the teleportation formation and said, He is a king-level weapon refiner. This is recorded in the information Her Highness showed this general. Qin Leitang said, Then will he still stay in our Thunder Army? This subordinate admires him. There are too few cultivators like him now. Meng Dan said, He should. He shouldn't be someone who gives up halfway. I also don't want to let this guy go. Qin Leitang exhaled and said, Everyone in the Thunderbolt army knew that Thunderbolt Qin was an old-fashioned person. It was hard for him to approve of someone. However, once he approved of someone, he would treat that person seriously. Night Sorrow stayed quietly in Leisure House, waiting for the Qing Emperor's apprenticeship ceremony to begin. Half a month later, the Qing Emperor's apprenticeship ceremony began. The venue was the Qing Emperor's Palace Square, and the host was Xian Daozi. Everyone in the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty knew that Xian Daozi was under the orders of the Qing Emperor. Many times Xian Daozi was the one who arranged everything for the Qing Emperor. The Qing Emperor's recruitment of disciples was a big event. Not many people signed up, only a dozen or so. However, many people came to watch because they all wanted to know who could become the Qing Emperor's disciple. Even if it was just a nominal disciple, it could change one's fate. Night Sorrow was among those who signed up. Everyone who signed up had to go through a test. Although many people's cultivations and ages could be seen at a glance, there were some secret techniques that could hide one's age. Xian Daozi seriously checked everyone who signed up. The Qing Emperor's disciple was very important, and it would have a great impact on the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty. If someone from the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty used a secret technique to break in, Xian Daozi would never be able to wash away this humiliation. Xian Daozi tested everyone. The oldest was 900 years old, and the youngest was Knight Sorrow, who was 120 years old. The one with the highest cultivation was the 900-year-old man, who was a level 3 king. After testing everyone's age and cultivation, Knight Sorrow and the others went to their designated seats. Next was the equipment refining test, and anyone who wasn't a heavenly master equipment refiner wouldn't be able to pass. Knight Sorrow had just sat down when he felt hostility. Turning his head, Knight Sorrow found that the 900-year-old level 3 king was staring at him with eyes full of hostility. Knight Sorrow smiled. He knew that this was hostility born of competition. He didn't think it was necessary at all. The Qing Emperor wasn't recruiting a disciple. What are you smiling about? You just got into the king's imperial dynasty ahead of time. Do you think that's enough? The man's eyes were full of a fierce murderous aura. Then you have the right to do so? Knight Sorrow was helpless against such hostile gazes and words. If you're not convinced, then let's fight. The black-clothed man stood up. The black-clothed man's name was Bonehead, and he came from Dark Bone Mountain. He was the young master of Dark Bone Mountain, a first-class force under the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty. When he came to participate in the apprenticeship ceremony, the Mountain Lord of Dark Bone Mountain said that the Qing Emperor couldn't instruct all the in-name disciples wholeheartedly. Among all the in-name disciples, the Qing Emperor would only instruct the most outstanding ones. The youngest one was the biggest threat, so Bonehead saw Knight Sorrow as a rival. He even planned to kill Knight Sorrow if he had the chance. Knight Sorrow, don't look for trouble, but I'm not afraid of trouble. If you want to fight, then I'll fight with you. Knight Sorrow stood up. Okay, quiet down. Xian Daozi slammed the table in front of him. After making Bonehead and Knight Sorrow quiet down, Xian Daozi tapped the table with his finger, and the next round of the equipment refining test was carried out. After that, Knight Sorrow and a dozen other people began the equipment refining test. The materials were on the table in front of everyone. They were all beginner king-grade materials. After the examination, the applicants had to use these limited materials to choose the most suitable one, and then refine a king-grade weapon. As long as they succeeded, the refined weapon would belong to them. It was also a disguised reward. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment, and felt that he could refine a pair of boxing gloves. Ever since the Azure Claw gloves were destroyed, Knight Sorrow hadn't used boxing gloves. His hand skills were very profound and he needed boxing gloves very much. After having an idea, Knight Sorrow began to forge. He used the 1,000-fold 100 refinement technique and he was very familiar with it. Knight Sorrow had refined quite a few king-grade weapons, and he was very familiar with the carving of formations. There were no problems. Xian Daozi, who was watching from the main seat, nodded as he watched. He was also worried. If Knight Sorrow really had a problem refining, he wouldn't be able to explain it to the Qing Emperor. In fact, this disciple recruitment was prepared for Knight Sorrow alone. After Knight Sorrow finished refining, he engraved the word Shang on the claw gloves. Then he placed the gloves on the table and took 2 steps back. The Qing Emperor, who was drinking tea in the Azure Sky Pavilion, nodded as he drank. Everything in the Qing Emperor's palace was within his scope of investigation, and he was very satisfied with Knight Sorrow's performance. Among the dozen or so people who participated in the refining, only Knight Sorrow was the calmest. His emotions were also very stable, so the quality of his weapon was also the highest. As for the conflict between Knight Sorrow and Bonehead, the Qing Emperor felt that Knight Sorrow had handled it very well. Everyone had a temper. If you endured being bullied, then it wasn't true. Not long after Knight Sorrow finished refining, Bonehead also finished refining and returned to his seat. His gaze was still on Knight Sorrow. He knew that Knight Sorrow definitely had a spot in the Qing Emperor's list of registered disciples. What he wanted to do now was to make Knight Sorrow lose face. Bonehead felt that if he made Knight Sorrow lose face before Knight Sorrow entered the Qing Emperor's eyes, then the Qing Emperor would no longer care about him. Soon the time set by Xian Daozi was up. Only one person had successfully refined a weapon. At this time, Bonehead stood up and walked to the center of the field. He pointed at Knight Sorrow and said, "Very good. Let's fight and see who is the best." Chapter 11:23. What are you doing? You're very strong, but can you be invincible? Xian Daozi frowned at Bonehead. He was starting to get annoyed. He knew exactly what Bonehead was thinking. Knight Sorrow stood up but didn't move. If he stepped up now, it would be the same as slapping Shen Daozi's face. Senior, I feel that this is an opportunity to prove myself. No matter if it's me or him, we both need the opportunity. Lord Qing Emperor's disciple needs to be the most outstanding one, Bonehead said. Shen Daozi pointed a finger at Bonehead, his eyes filled with rage. He had already made things very clear, but Bonehead was still stubbornly clinging to his own course. Shen Daozi was considering whether or not he should be heavy-handed. That's up to you, Shen Daozi said. It's up to you whether or not you want to fight Night Sorrow. No one is going to force you to do anything. No one is going to think that someone who's been training for 900 years can defeat someone who's been training for 100 years. Originally, Shen Daozi wouldn't have made such a decision, but after receiving the Qing Emperor's message, the Qing Emperor felt that there was no need to stop this battle. Bonehead needed to make a name for himself because of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow didn't need that, but he couldn't lose his drive. Qing Emperor felt that if he kept stopping Bonehead, others would think that he was protecting Night Sorrow. Fight. If I don't fight, then everyone will think that I'm afraid. I don't want to prove anything. I just want to quietly do my own thing. But that's a bit difficult. Night Sorrow stood up and walked off the stage. Latest equals chapter. On the festival, come on. I'll let you see the difference between us. Bonehead waved the battle blade in his hand as he looked at Night Sorrow with an ominous glint in his eyes. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He just waved splitting sky. At this moment, Bonehead moved. His body leapt into the air, and he wielded his warblade with both hands as he swung it at Night Sorrow. As Bonehead made his move, Night Sorrow knew that his will of darkness was compatible with the will of light. It was a dual elemental will and dual elemental energy. Two completely different types of energy and will were compatible. Bonehead's talent was still very strong. Night Sorrow used Sky Splitter and used Heavenly Wasteland Ultimate Kill. He used the Will of Time to support time acceleration to block Bone's ferocious attack. Suppression. Night Sorrow's Will of Time completely suppressed Bonehead's Will of Darkness and Light. They were on completely different levels. When Night Sorrow fought with Crow Beetle, he was unable to suppress him because Crow Beetle's cultivation was much higher than his. However, it was different now. Bonehead's comprehension of will was about the same as Night Sorrow's. Naturally, his normal attributes would be suppressed by his higher attributes. The Bone Blade's energy had been affected by Night Sorrow's time acceleration. It had less than 70% left. When it slashed at Night Sorrow's space rend, Night Sorrow's arm didn't even move, let alone his body. After being melted by time acceleration, Bonehead's energy cultivation was about the same as Night Sorrow's. In addition, Night Sorrow's body was a 2-star king. How could Bonehead move? After that, Bonehead crazily slashed at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow stood in place and casually blocked with Space Rend. This made all of Bonehead's attacks ineffective. Night Sorrow didn't want to make things difficult for anyone. This was the Qing Emperor's disciple ceremony. If he attacked too aggressively and something went wrong, it would be equivalent to slapping the Qing Emperor's face. That was what he thought, but Bonehead didn't think so. When Bonehead saw that he couldn't break through Night Sorrow's defense, he changed his move. When Night Sorrow blocked the blade, another blade appeared in his left hand and stabbed towards Night Sorrow's chest. Night Sorrow's right hand didn't change Bonehead's blade, but his left hand punched towards Bonehead's second blade. Following an explosion, Bonehead was knocked back by Night Sorrow's punch. Night Sorrow's left and right hands had the same attack power, and he had even used concussion force, so Bonehead was knocked back. Gap. Is this the gap you were talking about? Night Sorrow swung Space Rend and looked at Bonehead. At this moment, countless spectators knew that Bonehead was no match for Night Sorrow. Moreover, there was a huge gap between them. However, Bonehead was furious. He swung his blade towards Night Sorrow again. I'm going to kill you. Then I'll show you the gap between us. Night Sorrow stood there without moving. A halo erupted from his body as he used Time Shock to protect himself. Bonehead's blade slashed at Night Sorrow's body. However, as Night Sorrow's energy shield kept vibrating, the energy on Bonehead's blade became weaker and weaker. After breaking through Night Sorrow's energy shield, Bonehead's blade landed on Night Sorrow's shoulder without even lifting his robes. Scram. Night Sorrow swung Space Rend and slapped the dumbfounded Bonehead's chest. As Bonehead's energy shield broke, the sound of bones breaking could be heard from his body. Night Sorrow's powerful attack sent Bonehead flying far away. He fell to the ground and spat out large mouthfuls of blood. I, Night Sorrow, have no intention of fighting for anything. However, no one can step on my shoulder. Night Sorrow swung space rend and returned to his seat. Hong Yi and Lan Ning kept clapping their hands. They were too excited at this moment. Night Sorrow's performance was too domineering and dazzling. Calm as still water, moving like wind and thunder. This was the portrayal of Night Sorrow's performance at this moment. Xian Daozi slammed his hand on the table, his face full of excitement. Shocking. Night Sorrow's performance had shocked him. What was this? This was a gentleman's anger. After Bonehead stood up, he quietly returned to his seat. At this moment he had been awakened by Night Sorrow's attack. He could not just leave in a fit of anger. If he left, he would lose a great opportunity. The situation was not good now, but it did not mean that there was no chance at all. After Night Sorrow returned to his seat, he was very quiet, as if the person who had just fought had nothing to do with him. The Qing Emperor withdrew his soul power. The matter was settled. The people who passed in the end were all his disciples in name. As for who would be his personal disciple, that was his choice. Then Xian Daozi clasped his hands to the people who had come to watch the ceremony. Thank you everyone for coming to watch the ceremony. Those who pass are all His Majesty's disciples in name. As for the following arrangements, it is up to His Majesty. The ceremony ended. Night Sorrow and his people stayed in the Qing Emperor's palace because they had to wait for an audience with the Qing Emperor. Night Sorrow, you are now the Qing Emperor's disciple in name, Hong Yi said excitedly. If you can get the Qing Emperor's attention, you will most likely become his personal disciple. Then your status and position will rise. No, I plan to become the Qing Emperor's disciple. I'm not doing this for status or position, I'm doing this for my own strength. Status and position are not given to you by others. You have to fight for it with your own strength. Night Sorrow shook his head. Hong Yi's words made sense, but they were not in line with his philosophy. Young man, you are right. Your own strength is the most important thing. With strength, status and position will not be a problem. Xian Daozi arrived at Night Sorrow's residence. Night Sorrow greets Senior. Night Sorrow clasped his hands to Xian Daozi. No need to be so polite, young man, Xian Daozi said with a smile. If I politely said that this was luck, that would be blasphemy to my own efforts. Perhaps this is fate, Night Sorrow said. Chapter 11:24. Well said, Xian Daozi said. No matter what, you have to respect yourself. Only by respecting yourself can you gain the respect of others. He nodded at Night Sorrow. He really liked Night Sorrow's philosophy. Yes, Night Sorrow said. It doesn't matter if you gain the respect of others. It's important to respect yourself. It's an attitude. Actually, I was the one who screwed you over, Xian Daozi said apologetically. It was I who reported the results of your divination to His Majesty. That's why the Blue Phoenix Princess came looking for you and forced you to do something against your will. Don't say that, Xian Daozi said. It's true that you helped me a lot. Even if the Qing Emperor's dynasty didn't come looking for me, the Red Emperor's kingdom would have. You know what kind of people they are, and I'm the one who's in trouble. It's a problem that can't be solved. Besides, I was able to become the Qing Emperor's disciple, an honorary disciple. This is also an opportunity. He really wanted to learn from Xian Daozi. Ah, in that case I really did help you. I owe you a drink. Xian Daozi pointed at Night Sorrow, then left with a smile. Divination masters could foresee the workings of the heavens, so they believed in opportunities. He had never imagined that his divination would affect Night Sorrow so much. Xian Daozi returned to the Azure Sky Pavilion. Your Majesty, did I do a good job today? Xian Daozi sat down across from the Qing Emperor. Not bad, the Qing Emperor said. Just an honorary disciple. It's not like I'm taking in a lot of disciples. Bring them to see me tomorrow. After resting for a while, Xian Daozi brought Night Sorrow and the others to the Azure Sky Pavilion. After waiting for a while, the Qing Emperor appeared. He wore a black robe embroidered with mountain and river patterns, and a golden crown on his head. Greetings, Master. Bonehead and the others all knelt. Looking at Qing Emperor, Night Sorrow was stunned. He recognized that Qing Emperor was the elder who had given him pointers, but his attire was different today. At this moment, Bonehead and the others had finished kowtowing. Night Sorrow was still looking at Qing Emperor. What? Are you disappointed? Qing Emperor looked at Night Sorrow and said with a smile. I'm not disappointed. Actually, what I want the most is the guidance of an elder, not the Qing Emperor, Night Sorrow said, shaking his head. Then what are you waiting for? You haven't paid your respects to your master yet? Xian Daozi said. Knight Sorrow stepped forward and knelt on one knee. He clasped his hands and bowed to Qing Emperor. You are being disrespectful to Master. Bonehead growled. Emperor Qing stepped forward and helped Yishang up. A gentleman should have a clear conscience when he raises his head, and a clear conscience when he lowers his head. Master, I'm sorry. All these years, I've been insisting that I'm not inferior to anyone. I don't know why. I'm sorry, Knight Sorrow said. Ah, Master understands. Master also came from the same stage as you. That's very good. From today onwards, you are my personal disciple, Qing Emperor said. Thank you, Master. I won't let you down. Knight Sorrow bowed. What about you guys? I won't hide it from you. In fact, you are just accompanying the Crown Prince. I only want to accept one disciple, and that is Knight Sorrow. You guys are lucky because of him, so don't be jealous. Don't reject him. Otherwise I'll kick you out. Qing Emperor looked at Bonehead and the others. Protective. Unreasonable, very unreasonable. This was Qing Emperor. He didn't need to reason with anyone. His words were law. Anyone who disobeyed him would be destroyed. Bonehead and the others were taught a lesson by Qing Emperor. They couldn't be jealous at all. Jealousy was death. Take them away and make arrangements. I'll give them some pointers when I have time. As for what they can achieve, that's up to you. Actually, you have to walk your own path. The starting point doesn't determine your achievements, Qing Emperor said to Xian Daozi. Knight Sorrow chatted with Qing Emperor for a while. Qing Emperor waved his hand and called someone over. It was an old man in black. The old man was tall and sturdy. He was dressed in black, but he wore a mask. Above the mask was a snow-white beard. Knight Sorrow, this is Summer City. He's been with me for a long time. You can call him Uncle Summer. He'll follow you from now on. Summer City, you'll be in charge of Knight Sorrow's affairs in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. You'll deal with things that cross the line, Qing Emperor said to the old man. I understand. Summer City bowed to Qing Emperor, then cupped his hands to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow greets Uncle Summer. Knight Sorrow bowed in return. Bring him to 9-story tower. From now on, 9-story tower will be Knight Sorrow's residence. Knight Sorrow, you still have to be a soldier of the Green Phoenix Army. You still have to fight when you need to. What I need to do is to point out a path for you, not walk it for you. Qing Emperor said to Knight Sorrow. I understand. Knight Sorrow bowed to Qing Emperor. Take it and read it. Ask me if you don't understand. Qing Emperor took out 2 books and handed them to Knight Sorrow. Then, under Summer City's lead, Knight Sorrow brought Red Shirt and Blue Shadow to 9-story tower. 9-story tower was just a title. Its actual name was 9-story palace. The 9-story tower had a special status in the Azure Supreme the Arch Empire. It was the place where the Azure Supreme the Arch stayed when he was young. Later on, he left the 9-story tower and went to the Azure Supreme the Arch Palace to live in the Azure Sky Pavilion. 9-story palace had always been empty. No prince could stay there. If Knight Sorrow does anything wrong or doesn't understand, please tell me, Uncle Summer, Knight Sorrow said to Summer City when they arrived at 9-story palace. You're too kind, Your Highness. If there's anything you can't solve in the future, just tell me, Summer City said. Uncle Summer, don't call me that. Just call me Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow brewed a pot of heart-cleansing tea. No, in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, the Emperor's direct disciple is the prince. That was the case for Princess Sandalwood back then. The Emperor also mentioned this rule. In other words, you're the 3rd prince of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Summer City said. Uncle Summer, don't call me that in the future. It doesn't matter if I'm a prince or not. I became the master's disciple because I want to learn more skills. I can't cause instability in the Qing Emperor's dynasty because of this meaningless title, Knight Sorrow said to Summer City. I understand. I'll go arrange the guards and maids of 9-story palace now. Summer City bowed to Knight Sorrow and left 9-story palace for Azure Sky Pavilion. In Azure Sky Pavilion, the Qing Emperor and Xian Daozi were playing chess. Has Knight Sorrow settled down? Qing Emperor asked. They've settled down. Yishang and his 2 followers have already settled down, Xiacheng said with a bow. Summer City, this is unruly. We're like brothers, but Knight Sorrow is my direct disciple. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, he's a prince. I asked you to go because I was worried. Qing Emperor didn't let go of the book of 7-story palace. He was the only genuine book of 7-story palace. Your Majesty, it's not that I'm unruly. It's just that Your Highness doesn't allow it. Summer City bowed and said. Chapter 11:25. His Highness said that he wanted to become your disciple because he wanted to learn some skills, not because of his status. He didn't want to cause instability in the Qing Emperor's dynasty because of this. Summer City bowed and said, "Wise man, I didn't misjudge him. But His Highness is His Highness. No one can question this and no one can change it." The Qing Emperor put down the document in his hand. The Azure Supreme the Arch was not a rash person. If he did not understand and was not confident, he would not easily accept a personal disciple. He knew everything about Yi Shang's past. What he wanted was a disciple like Yi Shang. "I understand." Summer City bowed and said, "Bring a small team of the Qing Emperor's guards to the 9-story tower. They will be Knight Sorrow's personal guards from now on. The normal guards of the 9-story tower will be transferred from the city guard army. As for the maids, you can make the arrangements. Also, announce to the world that Knight Sorrow is my disciple. If I don't give it to him, no one can have it. If I want to give it to him, he must accept it," the Qing Emperor said. Then Xian Daozi and Summer City went to make the arrangements. The Qing Emperor trusted them the most when they were handling things. Xian Daozi and the Qing Emperor were good friends. He knew what the Qing Emperor was thinking. As long as the Qing Emperor expressed his intentions, he would help him deal with it. Be unspecified currency, unspecified currency, unspecified currency. Summer City was different. Summer City was the Qing Emperor's brother. They had fought side by side in the past and their relationship was even deeper. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Summer City was the Qing Emperor's shadow. After the Qing Emperor's guard deployed a small team to the 9 grand floors to defend Summer City, they also deployed a small team from the Qing Emperor's city guard army before returning to the 9 grand floors. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, the Qing Emperor's guard was the power controlled by the Qing Emperor. Summer City was the highest leader of the Qing Emperor's city guards, which meant that only Summer City could mobilize them. Other people could not mobilize the Qing Emperor's guard and the city guards. At the same time, Xian Daozi also announced Knight Sorrow's situation. This news caused a huge commotion in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. The birth of a new prince would cause a huge conflict in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. It could be said that there would be a shift in power. The Qing Emperor was the most important person in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Her Highness was the second most important person in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. As soon as the news came out, many officials of the Qing Emperor's dynasty came to the 9 grand floors to visit Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow's way of dealing with things was to not meet anyone. He told Summer City that he was in seclusion. He did not want to participate in the core power of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. He did not want to at all. Yi Shang was indeed cultivating in seclusion. The 2 books that the Azure Supreme the Arch had given him were his cultivation experiences. One was his combat experience, and the other was his artifact forging and array formation experience. Both were the Azure Supreme Thearka's ultimate techniques. In the Qinglin Palace, Qinglin, who was wearing the Qinglin battle robe, was listening to his subordinate's report. "Your Highness, it seems that Knight Sorrow does not plan to step into the core power. Kongming sent people to keep an eye on him. He does not plan to do so now. But if he wants to, he can control the same power as me and Princess Qingwan at any time, or even surpass it," Qinglin said to his subordinate. Kongming was a general of the Qinglin army. He was Qinglin's absolute confidant. Qinglin would let him handle some important matters. "Is there any way to destroy his prestige and His Majesty's trust in him?" Kongming asked. "We can't do that. We can't be hostile to him. The fact that the Azure the Archguard was sent to the Ninchong Pagoda is an important signal. Father's intention is clear. Whoever dares to touch him, Father will do the same. No one is allowed, including me," said Qinglin. Others might not know, but Qinglin knew about Knight Sorrow's situation. He knew how important Knight Sorrow was to the Qing Emperor's dynasty. He could affect the fate of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. In addition, the Qing Emperor's arrangements also let Qinglin know that Knight Sorrow was not only valuable to the Qing Emperor, but he also sincerely admired and liked him. At the same time, the Qing Emperor also got the news. This little guy is really not simple. What he did shows his attitude, mood, and state of mind. My prince and princess are not good enough. The Qing Emperor sighed with emotion. Strength is the foundation of everything. Many people don't understand this. I don't know whether Knight Sorrow has understood it, but what he is doing now is in line with the meaning of Tao, Xian Daozi said. Summer City is there, so there won't be any problems. That old guy is cruel and merciless. He won't let anyone touch Knight Sorrow. I'm going to cultivate in seclusion. If I can take one more step, I'll go and kill those bastards one by one. The Qing emperor left after saying that. In the world of samsara, the leaders of the top forces were almost equal in strength. They were competing to see who could take the first step. Whoever could take another step forward would be able to change the current situation. Knight Sorrow cultivated in seclusion every day to learn the cultivation experience of the Qing emperor. As he studied the Qing emperor's handwritten letter, Knight Sorrow knew that the Qing emperor had the space attribute. He even developed a unique skill, the Emperor Samsara /. However, the original version was the Great Emperor Samsara / that the Azure Supreme the Arch had mastered. Yishang could not cultivate it. The Great Emperor Samsara / that the Azure Supreme the Arch had cultivated was a supreme art that was formed by the fusion of the spatial attribute and the other 5 attributes. What Knight Sorrow wanted to do was to learn from it, not copy it step by step. He couldn't copy it because each attribute was different. The doppelganger studied the handwritten letter, and the original body began to analyze it. Then the doppelganger practiced. After cultivating for 2 months, Knight Sorrow's doppelganger stopped cultivating. In the lobby of the 9-story building, Knight Sorrow saw Summer City, 2 men in armor and a middle-aged woman. "Greetings, Your Highness." Summer City led the 3 of them and bowed. "Uncle Summer, you don't have to be so polite. Just call me Knight Sorrow," Knight Sorrow said. "This is His Majesty's order. I can't go against it." One of them is the captain of the Qing Emperor's guard, Fei Xiu. The other is the captain of the city guards, Shen Han. The other is the manager arranged by the Qing Emperor's palace, He Qiu. Summer City introduced the 2 men in armor and the middle-aged woman. "Uncle Summer, you're an elder. You can arrange the matters in the 9-story building as you see fit. I'll go to the Green Phoenix Army later," Knight Sorrow said. "Your Highness, there's one thing you don't know. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Your Highness has the right to build and own an army," Summer City said. "No need. I'd rather serve in the Green Phoenix Army." Knight Sorrow shook his head. He didn't have many thoughts about it. "Fei Xiu, Shen Han, when Your Highness isn't here, you'll be in charge of everything in the 9-story building. You can't make any mistakes. If Your Highness doesn't see any guests, then the 9-story building won't receive any guests. If there are any trespassers, kill them on the spot, no matter who they are," Summer City said to Fei Xiu and Shen Han. "Yes, old Summer. Don't worry." Fei Xiu and Shen Han nodded. "Uncle Summer, you guys do what you need to do. I'll bring the 2 of them to the camp." Knight Sorrow pointed at Red Coat and Lan Ying. "No need. The 3 of them can look after this place. I'll follow Your Highness." Summer City shook his head. "Uncle Summer, you're an elder. You can't run around with me," Knight Sorrow said to Summer City. Chapter 11:26. "It's nothing. I'll follow you, Your Highness. I won't interfere with anything you do or bully anyone. However, I won't tolerate anyone who dares to bully you, Your Highness," Summer City said. "Uncle Xia, I really don't want you to suffer because of me." Knight Sorrow looked at Summer City and said. He knew that Summer City was highly valued by the Qing Emperor. If he couldn't come here, he would have to suffer with him. "It's nothing. It's our fortune that Your Highness can sympathize with the people around you." Summer City shook his head and said. Knight Sorrow sighed and didn't say anything more. He knew that Summer City was insistent. It was useless for him to object. It would be disrespectful. Looking at the people again, Knight Sorrow took out 2 jars of wine and put them on the table. Knight Sorrow is a cultivator from a small world. I'm indebted to Master for taking me in as his disciple. However, I'm still Knight Sorrow. So don't be too cautious. We're all family now that we're living in the same mansion. Knight Sorrow opened the wine jar and poured a bowl for everyone. "Thank you, Your Highness." Fei Xiu, Shen Han, and He Qiu bowed to Knight Sorrow with the wine bowl. Knight Sorrow looked at Summer City with the wine bowl in his hand. "Uncle Xia, you used to be comfortable with Master. Now that you're suffering with me, Knight Sorrow, thank you." Knight Sorrow finished his words and drank the wine in one gulp. Summer City drank the wine in the bowl and then looked at Fei Xiu and the other 2. "You guys can go and arrange things." "Uncle Xia, do you have something to say to Knight Sorrow?" Knight Sorrow looked at Summer City, who sent Fei Xiu, Shen Han, and He Qiu away. "Yes, I have something to say to Your Highness. Even if Your Highness doesn't intend to touch the power of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, some people will still be hostile. The Qinglin Crown Prince and the Qingwan Princess will have thoughts about it." Summer City said. "I've thought about what Uncle Xia said. I'm going to the Qingwan army now to show my attitude. I won't fight for anything. I just want to be myself and cultivate hard so that I won't disappoint Master. Knight Sorrow said. Your Highness is right. Your Highness, Your Highness. Today, Your Highness, you're the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Your Highness, Your Highness. Your Highness, Your Highness. Your Highness, Your Highness's Highness. Your Highness's Highness, Your Highness. Perhaps. In. Highness, Your Highness. B. Highness. Thank you for your teachings, Uncle Xia. As long as Yi Shang is alive, I won't embarrass Master. Knight Sorrow said. That's great. That's good. Actually, you just have to work hard on your cultivation. Status and position are all decided by strength and His Majesty. It's very important to take the right path. Your Highness' current path is the right one, Xia Cheng said. Knight Sorrow brought Summer City, Hong Yi and Lan Ying to the Qingwan Palace. After asking around, they found out that the Qingwan princess wasn't there. Knight Sorrow and the others teleported to the Qingwan army and went to their own tents. Knight Sorrow then used his own tent to make a place for Summer City to rest. Knight Sorrow respected Summer City. One reason was because Summer City was a respected elder. The other reason was because of what he said just now. When Knight Sorrow was talking to Meng Dan, the Qingwan princess arrived. Knight Sorrow greets Your Highness, Qingwan princess. Knight Sorrow stood up and cupped his hands. Summer City didn't stand up. She only nodded slightly. You can't call me that. You are my father's personal disciple and the third princess of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. You can call Your Majesty senior sister. Qingwan Palace princess said. Knight Sorrow doesn't dare. Knight Sorrow only acknowledged a master. Everything else is secondary. Knight Sorrow shook his head. Junior brother, you don't have to be so polite. Did you come back to explain something? Qingwan princess asked. Explain what? I came back to see if there's anything wrong in the camp. I haven't been in the Massacre God territory for a while. I didn't fulfill my duties as the deputy commander. Knight Sorrow said. Junior brother, do you plan to continue staying in the Qingwan army and don't have any thoughts of forming your own army? Qingwan princess looked at Knight Sorrow's face, waiting for Knight Sorrow's reply. She mainly wanted to see Knight Sorrow's expression to determine if his words were true or false. No. It's better to be my deputy commander. There's no need to worry. If there's a war, I'll go to war. If there's no war, I'll cultivate steadily. Knight Sorrow said. That's fine too. If there's anything, go to the Qingwan army's tent or Qingwan palace to find senior sister. Uncle Summer, Qingwan will take her leave first. Qingwan princess nodded to Knight Sorrow. She then cupped her hands towards Summer City and left. Summer City only nodded and didn't say anything. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, he only took orders from one person, and that was the Qing Emperor. Now there was Knight Sorrow. He didn't care about anyone else. Even if it was the crown prince and the princess, he didn't need to care about them. In the Qingwan army's tent, Princess Qingwan sat on the main seat. The four generals sat in 2 rows below. Knight Sorrow has returned. As the third majesty of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, he has returned to the Massacring God's territory. Princess Qingwan narrowed her eyes and said, As a majesty, doesn't he have the right to form an army? Why did he return? Zhu Xuanjia asked in confusion. That's right. This shouldn't be the case. Commanders are supposed to charge and break through enemy lines. As a majesty, there's no need for him to do this. Why would he do this? Bai Jinting also didn't understand. Either he's not interested in power or he's biding his time. Your Majesty can't tell the difference. Princess Qingwan shook her head. Isn't he afraid that someone will attack him? Zhu Xuanjia asked. Afraid? Now, whoever touches him will be unlucky. When the Crown Prince's brother was forming the army, Father arranged Master Shangguan Hong. When Your Majesty was forming the army, Father arranged Elder Zhua to assist Your Majesty. Right now, the one beside him is Iron-Faced Divine Marquis Summer City. He's Father's personal attendant and also the commander of the Qing Emperor's City Guard Army. Princess Qingwan let out a breath. Iron-Faced Divine Marquis Summer City was very famous in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Even Crown Prince Qinglin and Princess Qingwan had to respect him. Then what should we do? If this guy stays in the Qingwan army, he'll be an unstable factor. Bai Jinting said. You're thinking too much. His Majesty Knight Sorrow is the deputy commander of the Qingwan army. He just returned to his position. It's not a big deal, right? Qin Leitang said. Knight Sorrow was a soldier under his command. He didn't want to suspect anything. Actually, it's a good thing. Right now, no matter who wants to attack your majesty or the Qingyuan army, they'll have to be more careful. After all, there are two majesties here. Leitang General, go back and make some arrangements. Knight Sorrow's living conditions have to be changed. He's a deputy commander and also a majesty. Besides, Iron-Faced Divine Marquis is by his side. You can't slack off. Chapter 11:27. When the Qing Emperor taught his disciples and children, everyone taught different things. Back then, Zhang Tan practiced the Emperor's Divine Wind Palm. Qing Lin practiced the Qing Emperor's Divine Qilin Sword Cut. Qing Wan practiced the Phoenix traversing the 9 heavens. Whether it was the Emperor's Divine Wind Palm, Divine Qilin Sword Cut, or Phoenix traversing the 9 heavens, they were all skills that could allow one to fight above their level. Therefore, Qing Wan really wanted to know what Night Sorrow was learning, but she couldn't ask. Night Sorrow cultivated for 2 days. Qin Leitang arranged for people to bring Night Sorrow and the others to change their living quarters. They changed from tents to lofts. Only Qin Leitang received this treatment in the Leitang army. Qin Leitang didn't need to explain to anyone. Night Sorrow was the 3rd prince of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. This wasn't a secret in the Qingyuan army. It wasn't a big deal for a prince to have a special residence. His identity in Summer City wasn't a secret either. As the main body continued to cultivate, Night Sorrow's energy cultivation was getting closer and closer. This was the benefit of time acceleration. While cultivating, Night Sorrow was also studying the Emperor's reincarnation / in the Qing Emperor's letter. In fact, Night Sorrow had failed several times. The space attribute couldn't control the time and void attributes. No matter how they merged, it would collapse. After thinking for a long time, Night Sorrow decided to change his way of thinking. That was to use the void attribute as the main attribute. This way he could control the time and space attributes. In order to cultivate the Emperor's reincarnation / Night Sorrow suppressed the will of space and time. He only merged the rules and energy. With the void rules and energy as the main attribute, he then merged the time and space rules and energy. It took Night Sorrow half a month to complete the fusion. After studying and understanding the Emperor's reincarnation / Night Sorrow couldn't use it. One reason was that it wasn't powerful enough now. Because he hadn't comprehended the void intent, the level was a bit low. Another reason was that he really didn't dare to expose this. Having stayed in the world of samsara for more than a day or two, Night Sorrow knew that there were still king with advanced attributes in the supreme world. The surface area of a supreme world was countless times that of a high-grade world, and the number of cultivators was countless times greater. In addition, the conditions were good, and with the accumulation of time, it wasn't strange for someone to be able to cultivate a high-grade will. While increasing his energy cultivation, Night Sorrow was also cultivating his realm. He wanted to increase his cultivation as soon as possible and then destroy the evil spirit king. Then, his true body could go to the Samsara Palace in the world of Samsara to cultivate and comprehend the will of nothingness. The comprehension of the nihility will was the key to determining Night Sorrow's ultimate height. Night Sorrow's doppelganger studied the letter that the Qing Emperor had given him. Many questions that he didn't understand before became clear as he studied the letter. Your Highness, when will your true body come to the world of Samsara? I'll go and pick him up. Nothing can happen to your true body, Summer City said as he looked at Night Sorrow who had finished cultivating his battle skills. Uncle Summer, I'm also in a hurry but there's no other way. Night Sorrow explained his situation in the 9 regions world. The only authentic VZB, he was a pirate. So that's how it is. This leap is a little too big. Even with some auxiliary methods, it's difficult to kill someone with such a leap. Your Highness can only increase your own height. Oh right, after becoming a Highness, the Qing Emperor's dynasty will give your Highness 100 years of cultivation time in the Samsara Palace. If you need more time, you'll need to exchange for merit points, Summer City said to Night Sorrow. The stability of the 9 regions world is very important. My true body must guard it, Night Sorrow said. I know some of your information. It's too difficult to become a sector lord. Many monarchs can't do it. The world you belong to is very important to a sector lord. You must guard it, Summer City said to Night Sorrow. Thank you for your reminder, Uncle Summer. Night Sorrow saluted Summer City. You're welcome, Your Highness. Even if I didn't say it, Your Highness would know. Summer City shook his head. While they were talking, the Thunder Army's war drums sounded. Uncle Summer, wait for me here with Red Coat and Blue Shadow. I'll go and join the Thunder Army. After speaking, Knight Sorrow left the attic and went to the Thunder Army's martial arts field. In the Thunder Army's martial arts field, the four armies had gathered. Princess Qing Wan and Qin Leiteng stood on the high platform in front of the martial arts field. Everyone has rested and rested for a long time. Now the warriors of the Dark Abyss have started to harass our Qing Emperor's dynasty's border again. Our Qing Wan army is guarding the area, so we're going to fight. Princess Qing Wan gave the order. Yes, Your Highness. Everyone waved their weapons. Knight Sorrow stood in front of the Massacre God's territory and looked at Princess Qing Wan with Sky Splitter. Junior brother, do you plan to go too? Princess Qing Wan looked at Knight Sorrow. I'm going. Knight Sorrow looked at Princess Qing Wan for a moment and nodded. At this moment, Knight Sorrow felt that Princess Qing Wan was really scheming. If she really didn't want him to go, she shouldn't have said it in front of others but in front of all the soldiers of the Thunder Army. Even if he didn't want to go, he had to go. If he didn't go, he would lose face. Most importantly, he would lose face for the Qing Emperor. In order to make things difficult for him, Princess Qing Wan even used the Qing Emperor's face as a weapon. This made Knight Sorrow feel disgusted. Compared to when she recruited him, her attitude and demeanor were completely different. However, Knight Sorrow could understand. In the past, when she recruited him, it didn't affect her own interests. But now Knight Sorrow was already a threat to her. After which, everyone led their men to prepare for departure. Qing Wan Palace Mistress came to Knight Sorrow's side. Junior brother, senior sister knew that you would definitely go, so I asked in front of the soldiers. This can also raise the morale and also give junior brother some prestige. So don't mind it. Senior sister is thinking too much. Knight Sorrow shook his head. He even had a feeling that his thoughts were wrong. But Knight Sorrow knew that his first feeling wouldn't be wrong. In the pavilion, Summer City tapped his finger on the table. That's really the case. Hongyi Lanning, you guys stay here. I will secretly follow His Highness. Summer City knew that Knight Sorrow would be ostracized, but he didn't expect Princess Qing Wan to react so obviously. Now that Knight Sorrow was still in his growth stage, he had to secretly follow him. Otherwise, if something happened, he wouldn't be able to answer to the Qing Emperor. After returning to the Thunder Army's tent, Princess Qing Wan knew that what she said just now made Knight Sorrow unhappy. This was because after she asked, Knight Sorrow looked at her and hesitated for a moment. This was a reaction in his heart and a sign of resistance. Princess Qing Wan let out a breath. She knew that she was too emotional today. She really shouldn't have done that. In Princess Qing Wan's heart, if other princes received the title and power of His Highness, she could still accept it. After all, they were all her brothers. But Knight Sorrow was an outsider. After waiting for a while, the Thunder Army gathered and set off. This time it was the Thunder Army of the Green Phoenix Army. The other three armies didn't go out. Because the Green Phoenix Army's camp was quite far from the border, the Thunder Army took 2 teleportation circles before arriving at the closest city. The fourth watch had arrived. Chapter 11:28. In this city, the Thunder Army didn't stop at all and continued to advance. Meng Dan followed beside Knight Sorrow. Your Highness, this is your first battle. You don't understand the situation of the Dark Abyss, so you have to be careful. Thank you for your reminder, Commander Meng. I will be careful. Also, Commander Meng, you don't have to worry. Knight Sorrow is just an ordinary deputy commander in the Thunder Army. I will do what I should do. Knight Sorrow said to Meng Dan. He knew that his identity would bring some trouble to Meng Dan and the others. This was something he didn't want to see. Thank you, Your Highness. Meng Dan cupped his hands towards Knight Sorrow. At this moment, his heart was touched because Knight Sorrow's words were exactly what he was worried about. It's nothing. Knight Sorrow smiled at Meng Dan. Haha, we can fight side by side with Your Highness. Wuxia was very happy. This time, Princess Qing Wan didn't come. The one leading the army was Qin Leiteng. I'm also looking forward to it. However, the days of us fighting together are still in the future. Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Your Highness, you really don't have any plans to form an army? Qin Leiteng, who was leading the way, asked. Yes, I just want to cultivate in peace. I've never thought about anything too complicated. Yi Shang nodded. Your Highness' state of mind is too rare. Brothers, this time we are fighting side by side with His Highness Knight Sorrow. Don't lose face. Qin Leiteng turned around and shouted. / Latest PQ new chapter top Q. The response to Qin Leiteng was a wailing and howling. This group of people were all hot-blooded men. They liked Night Sorrow's casual personality and attitude. Last time we didn't let your highness drink well. This time when we return we will drink well with your highness. Wuxia said. Sure, I'm just afraid that if you shout too loudly, you will cover your head and say that you are dizzy in the end. Night Sorrow looked at Wuxia and threw out a sentence that made many people laugh. Let's forget about last time, okay? Let's see next time. Wuxia was embarrassed by Night Sorrow's words. Everyone from the Massacre God's territory laughed heartily. Wuxia looked at everyone. Laugh all you want. I don't care. If you have the ability, try His Highness's alcohol tolerance. This was the Massacre of God's territory. Since it was not the time to issue battle orders, everyone was more casual. After flying for 2 hours, Qin Leitang gave the order to set up camp on the spot. Following which, the combat scouts were sent out. It was Achio's team. At this time the sky was already dark. Night Sorrow set up a tent and lit a bonfire. His heart was a little restless, not because he was afraid but because he was excited. Back then in the eastern Shen region, the scene of him fighting the demonic beasts in the dark space was similar to this. Meng Dan and Wu Jia came to Night Sorrow's side. Wu Jia took out some barbecued meat and heated it over the charcoal fire. Your Highness, there's no need to worry. It's nothing. Our Thunderbolt Battalion has fought many battles like this in the past. As long as we don't get surrounded and don't go in alone, there won't be any problems, Wu Jia said. General said that Your Highness has commanded several world wars. How could Your Highness be lacking in battle experience? Meng Dan glanced at Wu Jia. That's true. I'm just worried for nothing. Wu Jia nodded. 2 hours later, Achio returned. However, she reported the specific results to Qin Leitang, so the others didn't know the specific situation. After hearing Achio's report, Qin Leitang summoned the 4 battalions to gather. We just found out that the level of the Dark Abyss warriors is average, but their numbers are terrifying. The difficulty of this battle is consumption. Alright, all commanders, set out with your troops. Advance 1,000 miles and come back alive. Qin Leitang took out a general token and activated it. Then he issued the battle order. Every soldier in the Thunderbolt Battalion had an identity token. One of the functions of the token was to prove their identity, and the other function was to record military merits. Normally, the command medallion didn't have this effect, but in times of war, when the commander or general activated the command medallion in their hands, the medallion would absorb the life force of the killed opponent to form merit battle runes. Merit battle runes were equivalent to merit points. The 4 commanders of the Thunderbolt Battalion set out with their subordinates. Night Sorrow and Meng Dan led the soldiers of the Massacre Gods Battalion at the very center. After advancing for 200 miles, they encountered the Dark Abyss warriors. The Dark Abyss warriors' figures were similar to humans, but their faces had dark runes. They were wearing and holding the same battle sabers and armor. Battalion. Night Sorrow knew that this was the Dark Abyss Battalion's uniform armor and weapons. This was the battalion's equipment. Kill, all those standing in front of us are military merits and resources. Meng Dan shouted at the soldiers of the Massacre Gods Battalion and began to charge forward. Night Sorrow activated his protective barrier and slashed forward. Your Highness, slow down, Wu Jia shouted. He was worried that Night Sorrow would be in danger. It's nothing. Everyone pay attention to your safety. Night Sorrow directly charged towards the Dark Abyss Battalion. He had promised that he would always appear before every battle. Night Sorrow's speed was extremely fast, almost the same as Meng Dan. The 1st Battalion led by Wu Jia followed behind Night Sorrow. When he got close to the Dark Abyss Battalion, Night Sorrow began to attack with Space Splitter. Most of the Dark Abyss Battalion were Saint Kings. Only a small portion of them were King ranks. Night Sorrow didn't need any battle skills to enter the Dark Abyss Battalion. Space Splitter was used to reap lives and accumulate military merits. Night Sorrow's back was littered with corpses. He could feel the token hanging from his waist constantly absorbing the vitality of the Dark Abyss Battalion he killed. Brothers, pay attention to your safety. If you encounter a king, surround him and kill him. That's all military merits, Wu Jia shouted. Hearing Wu Jia's shout, Night Sorrow's target changed. He targeted the Dark Abyss Battalion's king ranks and killed them. The military merits gained from killing Saint King rank Dark Abyss Battalion and King rank Dark Abyss Battalion captains and commanders were completely different. Night Sorrow wasn't fighting for military merits, but to reduce the danger to others. The Massacring Gods Battalion soldiers who noticed Night Sorrow's battle were all shocked. Night Sorrow was fighting for his life. He didn't look like a noble highness at all. At this moment he looked more like a charging soldier. If it wasn't a king-ranked Dark Abyss battalion, Night Sorrow could casually wave Space Splitter and rely on his physical strength to kill them. If he encountered a king-ranked Dark Abyss battalion commander, he would use his energy and battle skills to kill them. Night Sorrow remembered Qin Leitang's words. There were many Dark Abyss battalion soldiers, so they had to avoid exhausting themselves. As the slaughter continued, Night Sorrow slowly moved deeper into the Dark Abyss battalion. The Thunder Battalion soldiers weren't as fast as him, so they couldn't kill as fast as him. Gradually the distance between them widened. Night Sorrow didn't care about this. If it wasn't for a high-level king-ranked Dark Abyss battalion appearing out of nowhere, there was no way he could be killed instantly. Night Sorrow needed military merits. Not only did he need them, but the 9 regions' world's cultivators were low-level and their cultivation techniques were poor. With military merits he could exchange them for what he needed. As for Princess Qing Yuan, Night Sorrow didn't count on her anymore. Their relationship had changed and it was different from before. Now Princess Qing Yuan was rejecting him. First update. The announcement was made yesterday. Counting from yesterday, the reward is now 200. If someone says it's expensive, then I'll add more. If there are people who say it's expensive, then I'll add more. If there aren't, then it's not bad either. We won't force you, so I'm not tired of adding 4. Also, if there are people who say I'll add less than 4, please don't say such things again. It's not good for anyone if we get into an argument. Let's have fun. I've never forced anyone, and it's fine if you read white books. We're all book fans, but don't make unreasonable requests. Chapter 1129. Before Night Sorrow became the disciple of the Qing Emperor, Princess Qing Yuan was very polite and courteous. But now, because Night Sorrow was also the prince of the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty, she had misgivings in her heart. It could also be said that she was suspicious of him. Speaking of other things, she didn't give Hong Yi and Lan Ying the cloning technique. She had said that she would give it to him. Since it didn't work with Princess Qing Yuan, Night Sorrow had other plans and had to rely on himself. Heads and flesh flew everywhere. Wherever Night Sorrow went, it was like harvesting wheat. Kill. There was no mercy in a battle between legions. Being merciful to the enemy was being cruel to one's own people and to the Thunder Legion's soldiers. Most of the soldiers of the Massacring Gods territory followed behind Yishang. One reason was that they were worried about Yishang's safety. Another reason was that it was easier to kill those behind Yishang. The Dark Legion had been scattered by Yishang. Wuxia rushed to Night Sorrow's side and supported Night Sorrow. Currently, other than Meng Dan who was supervising the battle, only Wuxia could keep up with Night Sorrow's rhythm. The others had already distanced themselves. Your Highness, ferocious. While fighting, Wuxia yelled out loudly. Ah! Let's fight to our heart's content. Night Sorrow used a space-twisting dragon kill and a time shock wave to kill a King Darkness Legion's captain and laughed. Well said, let's fight to our heart's content. Wuxia's battle intent was also high. A group of people kept pushing forward. The Darkness Legion also quickly gathered and constantly clashed with each other. After the collision, the Dark Warriors would be killed and eliminated. The Massacre God's leader was the elite of the Green Yuan army. Their battle strength was extremely powerful. Moreover, the coordination of the battle formation was of a higher level than before. Their battle strength and lethality had a huge increase. After pushing forward for 1,000 miles, Massacre God's territory fought for 8 hours before they reached the target line. When they reached the target line, Meng Dan ordered them to set up defenses. The Legion's battle was a coordinated battle. One team couldn't go too deep. Night Sorrow made himself a tent and boiled water to make tea. Wuxia and some other captains, as well as Chiu who was more familiar with Night Sorrow, all ran over to Night Sorrow's place to drink tea and chat. Chiu, you lazy bum. Go get a wild beast and roast it. Wuxia nodded at Chiu. Chiu smiled and went to work. Everyone was more casual. After Chiu got the wild beasts, Wuxia took out some wine. Everyone casually drank some wine and then went to cultivate and rest, because there was still a big battle tomorrow. However, Meng Dan came to Night Sorrow's place. Your Highness, you don't have to fight so hard. Just do what you can, Meng Dan said. Back then I made a promise. As long as we fight, I want to be in front of my brothers. If we retreat, I want to be at the back. If we don't keep our word, we can't stand. As long as we are in the Massacring Gods territory, I will do this. Night Sorrow poured a bowl of wine for Meng Dan and said, This is the good fortune of the brothers of the massacring gods territory. Meng Dan will thank your highness on behalf of our brothers. Meng Dan cupped his hands towards Knight Sorrow. Commander Meng, you don't have to do this. I am a soldier of the massacring gods territory. I will fulfill the responsibilities and obligations of a soldier. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands in return. I don't know what to say when you guys are so polite. Qin Leitang arrived at Knight Sorrow's tent. Greetings, General. Meng Dan bowed. Knight Sorrow also cupped his hands towards Qin Leitang. Your Highness, how many enemies did you kill? Why are the military inscriptions on the token so densely packed? Qin Leitang looked at Knight Sorrow's token and asked. Your Highness charged at the front today and killed the most enemies. You even killed many king-level Dark Warrior captains, Meng Dan said. Your Highness, I believe that such life and death battles are beneficial for your growth. However, you still have to pay attention to your safety. Qin Leitang looked at Knight Sorrow and said. Thank you for your advice, General. Knight Sorrow will remember it. Knight Sorrow nodded. Looking at Knight Sorrow, Qin Leitang pondered for a moment. There are some things that you don't have to worry about. Perhaps some people have doubts and scruples about your Highness, but I won't. As long as your Highness is in the Thunderbolt Army, I won't let anything happen. If I can't do anything, I will let your Highness leave or retire in advance. Knight Sorrow looked at Qin Leitang. He didn't expect Qin Leitang to say something like this. This was equivalent to standing in his shoes and thinking about the problem. You don't have to look at me like that. I am a member of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Naturally, I can't watch your Highness get hurt. Most importantly, I am a soldier, so I respect true soldiers. Your Highness is such a person. Qin Leitang explained the reason behind his words. Knight Sorrow smiled helplessly. Actually, I am not a complicated person. I became Master's disciple to improve my own strength. I have never thought of becoming your Highness. I came to the Green Phoenix Army to be a soldier and fulfill a promise. At the same time, I will accumulate some military merits and earn some resources. On the last section of the new chapter. I understand. I really understand. Don't worry. I will go take a look at the other 3 territories. Meng Dan, make arrangements for the soldiers in the Massacre God territory. Tomorrow's mission will be sent over tomorrow morning. After giving a few more instructions, Qin Leitang left. He wanted to check on the situation in the other territories and then give out orders for tomorrow's battle. Knight Sorrow and Meng Dan filled the wine cup again. Your Highness, let's not talk about anything else. Drink this bowl of wine and rest. After drinking the wine, Meng Dan also left Knight Sorrow's tent. Qin Leitang and Meng Dan were hot-blooded soldiers, but it didn't mean that they didn't know some twists and turns. They knew that Knight Sorrow was being doubted. Princess Qing Yuan asked Knight Sorrow if he was going to participate in the battle. They felt that there was another meaning behind that question. Knight Sorrow drank a pot of tea and took out a chair. He covered himself with a blanket and laid on it to rest. The main body's cultivation was enough for Yi Shang. Now taking a break was relaxing. After dawn, Meng Dan and Wu Jia went to Knight Sorrow's tent. Looking at Knight Sorrow, who was still sleeping, the two were stunned. How many people who cultivated to the king level slept? Moreover, there was going to be a big battle soon. At this moment, Knight Sorrow stretched and sat up. Comfortable. Other than your Highness, no one can do this. Wu Jia curled his lips and said. I'm just resting for a while. Knight Sorrow said with a smile. While they were talking, the messenger came with Qin Leitang's battle order. Today's mission was to not change the direction and advance 600 li yesterday. Advancing 1,000 li was nothing to Massacre God's territory, but there was pressure on the other 3 territories. Therefore, Qin Leitang made some adjustments. After tidying up, the group set off and continued the battle. Knight Sorrow was still the same as before. He was at the front. Because Meng Dan had to coordinate with the overall situation, she let Wu Jia follow Knight Sorrow and be the sharp blade of the group. They were going to eliminate the tough bones among the Dark Warriors. Knight Sorrow's command token was getting denser and denser. This was very rare for others. The soldiers of Massacre God's territory also admired Knight Sorrow. In Massacre God's territory there were quite a number of 2-star king. The captains were all mid-level king. However, none of them were as powerful as Knight Sorrow. The second update has arrived. The announcement was made yesterday. Counting from yesterday, the reward will be 200. If someone says it's expensive, then it's fine. If there are people who say it's expensive, I'll add. If there aren't, then it's also not bad. We won't force you. I'm not tired of 4 updates. Also, if there are people who say I'll guarantee 4 updates, please don't say this again. It's not good for anyone. Let's have fun. I didn't force anyone. It doesn't matter if you read white books. We are all book fans. However, don't make any unreasonable requests. Chapter 11:30. Sometimes, Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear would fly out to save the soldiers of Massacre God's territory if they were in danger. After fighting for a few days, Night Sorrow's prestige in Massacre God's territory grew higher and higher. Night Sorrow was a newbie in Massacre God's territory. They had never fought together before, so everyone felt a sense of unfamiliarity with him. In addition, Night Sorrow was the third prince of the Qing Emperor's imperial court. His status was revered, and the soldiers of Massacre God's territory felt a sense of distance from him. However, as they fought and Night Sorrow fought every battle, the sense of unfamiliarity and distance slowly disappeared. They all became familiar with him. Whoever had barbecued meat or good wine would give Night Sorrow a portion. The iron-blooded soldiers wouldn't flatter anyone and they didn't need it. If there was respect and affection, then everyone would chat and laugh together. If they didn't want to bother with you, they could just ignore you. Wuxia and the other captains would look for Night Sorrow to have a meal after the battle. Every time a Chiu came, he would carry a wild beast to do it well. Otherwise Wuxia would scold him. A Chiu was brought out by Wuxia. Although they weren't master and disciple, they were considered an elder brother. Mengdan also often hung out with Night Sorrow. He was the commander and Night Sorrow was the vice commander. Night Sorrow was the sharp knife at the front, and he was in the middle to command the entire situation. The two of them cooperated well. Qin Leiting would come once a day to ask about the situation and then formulate a tactical mission. He was very happy that Night Sorrow got along well with everyone. He thought highly of Night Sorrow, so he was very concerned about Night Sorrow's situation in Massacre God's territory. Night Sorrow's token changed color. It was originally white, but now it was blue. After a transition in the middle, it was green. The token would only change color when it reached 1,000 military points. This also meant that Night Sorrow was about to reach 3,000 military points. Killing a Saint King Peak Dark Warrior was 1 military point, and killing a King-level Dark Warrior would give more. After every battle, a quartermaster would clear out all the merit tokens and report them to the Qing Emperor's palace. In fact, the officials in charge of the meritorious deeds were the officials of the Qing Emperor's palace. They had no right to operate within the army. In other words, the meritorious deeds of the Qing Emperor's dynasty could not be faked, and no one could do so. Everyone's merit was recorded in the Qing Emperor's palace. Anyone who wanted to exchange for resources could go to the merit hall of the Qing Emperor's palace. Merit points were hard to come by, and it required a high quota to exchange for top-level resources. For example, the minimum exchange time for cultivation in the Samsara Palace was 10 years, and 10 years of cultivation required 100,000 merit points. Night Sorrow's 3,000 contribution points were less than half a year's worth. Thinking about it, Night Sorrow understood. The Ninth Heaven Pagoda only opened once every 3,000 years. It would be very difficult to obtain a slot. The Samsara Palace in the Supreme World was more advanced, and cultivation time was more precious. It was normal to spend 100,000 merit points for 10 years. As for why Princess Qingyuan had so much time to cultivate, it was because she was the commander of the Qingyuan army. If the Qingyuan army won a battle, the soldiers would have battle merits. As the commander, she would also have battle merits. Moreover, her battle merits were the highest because the Qingyuan army was hers. Night Sorrow didn't know if Princess Qingyuan would mention the cultivation time in the Samsara Palace again, but he didn't care. He had become the prince and already had cultivation time. He would continue to accumulate merit points to exchange for resources and cultivation methods. The Dark Abyss was a special country with more dark warriors. Therefore, the Dark Dominator didn't care about the consumption. As long as he attacked the surrounding forces, he could plunder resources. Survival of the fittest was the law of survival in the Dark Abyss. Wars eliminated some members with low cultivation and could get resources. This was the reason why the Dark Abyss started wars. The Qing Emperor's dynasty wanted to destroy the invaders. They would kill as many as they came. This situation had been going on for many years. The Qingyuan army was responsible for half of the defense line in the Dark Abyss, while the Greenscale army was responsible for the other half. The other borders of the Qing Emperor's dynasty were also divided. Wherever there was a problem, the army would go out to fight. If the Greenscale army and the Qingyuan army couldn't solve the problem, then there was the Qing Emperor's city guards. If the Qing Emperor's city guards couldn't solve the problem, then it was time for the Qing Emperor's guards to move out. However, in the long history, the Qing Emperor's guards had only been mobilized a few times. Knight Sorrow planned to let his clone mingle in the Qing Yuan army while his original body cultivated. In order to complete the trade with Princess Qing Yuan, Knight Sorrow's minimum service period was 1,000 years. 1,000 years might be a long time, but it was nothing in the eyes of high-level cultivators. Knight Sorrow had his original body cultivating, so the influence of his clone service was only SOSO. After 1,000 years of service, Knight Sorrow felt that he could also accumulate a lot of merit points. Was going smoothly. The war was going smoothly. After half a month, only a few soldiers from the massacring gods' territory died. Of course, danger appeared a few times when the Dark Abyss Army's commander appeared. Knight Sorrow couldn't win, and Meng Dan could only hold them off. Qin Leitang, who received the message, could only take them down. The results were the same several times. After killing another Dark Abyss Army commander, Qin Leitang left. Luckily, the general came in time every time. Otherwise, we would have suffered heavy losses. Knight Sorrow said emotionally. The general isn't in any of the armies. Usually, the command tent is in the center of the 4 armies. If any army is in danger, the general will appear. Meng Dan said. Knight Sorrow nodded. He understood that the battle order was given with a plan. Distance, consumption, and rescue were all part of Qin Leitang's plan. The battle continued. In the middle, Princess Qing Yuan came once and said something to Knight Sorrow. However, Knight Sorrow felt that something was wrong. The feeling was completely different from before. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow understood that her heart had changed. Princess Qing Yuan couldn't treat him as well as before. He was a threat to the other 2 princes of the Qing Emperor dynasty. Whether Knight Sorrow fought or not, this threat was still there. Such a situation was helpless. However, Knight Sorrow wasn't afraid. He was willing to keep a low profile. If Qing Lin and Qing Yuan used any methods, he could return to the 9 grand floors and form his own army. He had a promise to serve the Qing Emperor dynasty. Forming an army was also to serve the Qing Emperor dynasty. However, unless it was a last resort, Knight Sorrow wouldn't do that. He didn't want to hurt the relationship between master and disciple. Qing Lin and Qing Yuan were the children of the Qing Emperor. If he formed an army, it would mean that he wanted to compete with them. Knight Sorrow felt that it wasn't appropriate to compete with his master's children. Meng Dan's arrival made Knight Sorrow's thoughts stop. =latest chapter previous. Your Highness, what are you thinking about? Meng Dan sat down and asked. Your Highness has come. Commander Meng knows. I feel like everything has changed. I feel helpless. Knight Sorrow sighed. Meng Dan didn't say anything. She knew about this. When Knight Sorrow challenged, Qing Yuan's attitude and arrangements were different from now. After returning to the border city, Princess Qing Yuan went to the inn arranged by the city lord. Your Highness, should you change the way you interact with Knight Sorrow? Zhuo Tingyun thought for a while and asked. Chapter 1131. Change the way I get along with Knight Sorrow? Princess Qing Yuan looked at Zhuo Tingyun. Yes, Knight Sorrow is a smart person. He can feel the princess's attitude. If he doesn't want to get along with you sincerely, then it would be a waste of the foundation he had built in the past, Zhuo Tingyun said. Princess Qing Yuan didn't say anything. Ever since she knew that Knight Sorrow was valued by the Qing Emperor and became a prince, her heart was not calm. He is very stable now. He doesn't have any other thoughts. If he feels enmity and doesn't feel a sense of belonging, he might walk to the opposite side of the princess, Zhuo Tingyun said. Your Majesty is angry. He is just a native of a small world. Now, he is actually on the same level as the Crown Prince and Your Majesty. What right does he have? Princess Qing Yuan stood up agitatedly. Forgive me for saying this, but where did the Crown Prince and Princess get their princess positions? It was given by His Majesty. His Majesty can give it to whoever he wants. No one can question it. The Qing Emperor's matters cannot be hidden from His Majesty. If the Princess and Knight Sorrow have a conflict, I am afraid that it will lower the Princess's position in His Majesty's heart, Zhuo Tingyun said. Zhuo Tingyun had followed the Qing Emperor before, so he understood the Qing Emperor very well. He was ordered to assist Princess Qing Yuan, so there were some things that he didn't want to see. Princess Qing Yuan looked at Zhuo Tingyun and thought. Zhuo Tingyun's words were a little harsh, but they were all reasonable. Her and the Crown Prince's positions were given by the Qing Emperor. The Qing Emperor could give it or take it back. The Qing Emperor supported Night Sorrow to become a prince. If she did anything, it would be a slap to the Qing Emperor's face. Even if the Qing Emperor didn't say it, he would have some thoughts in his heart. At the very least he would be disgusted. The only official version, the others were the official version. Elder Zhua, Your Majesty and the Crown Prince are father's princes and princesses, but what about him? Princess Qing Wan's words were filled with emotions. His Majesty pursues two things. The first is his own strength. The second is the long-term stability of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. As long as the Qing Emperor's dynasty doesn't decline, his bloodline can continue. He doesn't care who has a higher position and power as long as you can live well. You value Yi Shang because you think he can bring stability to the Qing Emperor's empire? Princess Qing Wan asked. She wasn't just asking Zhuo Tingyun, she was also asking herself. Zhuo Tingyun understood the situation very clearly. Putting Night Sorrow's value to the Qing Emperor's dynasty aside, the Qing Emperor liked and appreciated Night Sorrow. There was no doubt about this. If Green Qilin and Princess Qing Wan made any moves, the Qing Emperor would first think that they didn't have enough courage and breadth of mind. He would think that they wouldn't be able to achieve great things. Your Highness, being on good terms with Night Sorrow will make Your Highness' position in the Qing Emperor's dynasty more stable. Seeing that Princess Qing Wan's emotions were gradually stabilizing, Zhuo Tingyun once again spoke his opinion. Thank you for your advice, Elder Zhua. I will remember it. I must let go of my emotions. Even if I can't, I must keep it in my heart. Princess Qing Wan had thought it through. Night Sorrow fought every day. Every time he fought, he would rush to the front. His merits also increased. His friendship with the soldiers of the Massacre God's leader also deepened. Seeing the brothers of the Massacre God's leader fighting, Night Sorrow felt that it was time to bring his brothers to the world of reincarnation. Most of the members of the God-slaying team were paragons. Some were saints. Their development was still limited in the 9 regions world. People like Liang Yu, Yun Huang, and Ling Long all had high aptitudes. As for guidance, there were 2 great experts in the 9 Grand Pagoda. Fei Xiu and Shen Han were both outstanding king. Shen Han was slightly weaker, but Fei Xiu was a monarch. The Qing Emperor's Guard was the most elite team in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. It was normal for the captain to be a monarch. One must know that the Green Qilin Palace and Princess Qing Wan Palace didn't have the Qing Emperor's Guard stationed there. Night Sorrow decided that after this battle, he would bring the members of the God-slaying team, his family, and the people around him to the 9 Grand Pagoda. There was no other way. Everyone's short cultivation time was a disadvantage. They all needed the Time Pagoda to speed up. Therefore they could only gather together and use the Time Pagoda together. If it was in the past, Night Sorrow wouldn't dare to do this because he was surrounded by danger in the world of reincarnation. However, it was different now. The 9 Grand Pagoda was absolutely safe. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, other than the Qing Emperor's order, no one dared to enter the 9 Grand Pagoda. The Qing Emperor wouldn't threaten Night Sorrow's safety. After fighting for a month, the Thunder Army fought to the border between the Qing Emperor's dynasty and the Dark Abyss. They even went deeper before stopping. After a war of attrition, the Massacre God's leader was also exhausted. More than 10 people died. This was something that couldn't be helped. There were always deaths on the battlefield. After a month of fighting, Night Sorrow had accumulated tens of thousands of military merits. Ordinary soldiers couldn't compare to him. Even Meng Dan and Wu Jia's military merits were inferior to Night Sorrow's. We'll rest for a day today. We'll return tomorrow. As for the responsibility of cleaning up the remaining people, Your Highness has gained quite a lot of military merits. When you return, you must treat us to a drink, Wu Jia said. Of course. There's no problem. It's a pity that some of our brothers have left, Night Sorrow said to the soldiers of the Massacre God's leader. Your Highness, don't think too much. We have an agreement. Dying in battle is an honor. There's no need for anyone to feel sad. Moreover, Your Highness has kept your promise. Every time you charge, you'll be at the front. When you retreat, you'll be at the back, Wu Jia said. Who doesn't have parents, wife and children? No one is afraid of death when they serve in the army. However, if they die in battle, their family will be damaged. There will be less laughter. Night Sorrow lamented. We still have to urge them to work hard in their cultivation. The more power they have, the more hope they have of surviving. Meng Dan was also affected by Night Sorrow's emotions. After the 4 leaders of the Thunder Army retreated, Night Sorrow realized that the massacre god's leader had the least casualties. The other leaders had 30 to 40 casualties. Wuxia then told Night Sorrow that in the past battles, the massacre god's leader was stronger than the other 3 leaders. However, it wasn't so obvious. Now, it was the joint attack formation that had taken effect. The Thunder Army returned to the Green Phoenix Army's encampment. After returning to his own resting loft, Night Sorrow saw Summer City drinking tea. He didn't know that Summer City had been in the battlefield all this time to protect his safety. He had just returned yesterday. Young Master, Her Highness Green Phoenix sent us a clone technique, Hongyi said. Night Sorrow was stunned. He felt that this shouldn't be the case. Previously, Green Phoenix Army's apprehension and suspicion were very obvious. At different times their thoughts are different. Perhaps they have thought it through because it's useless if they don't, Summer City said. Night Sorrow nodded. He could understand the logic behind it. Then Night Sorrow asked Summer City if he could bring his hometown people to live in the 9 grand floors. Of course you can. His Majesty has bestowed this place to you, so it's your territory. If the cultivators of this small world want to rise, vision is very important. Watching the Qing Emperor's guard and the city guards cultivate will allow them to gain insights. Also, it's not a problem for Fei Xiu and the others to give pointers. Here your words are orders. Summer City said. The 4th update had arrived. It was estimated that there would be 3 more updates today, which was 7. The remaining 2 updates would be transferred to tomorrow. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.